Morning, people. It's Saturday, the 8th of September. It's 10:09 a.m. Yeah, shooting the breeze is late yet again. Nah, doggone it.
What again?
I forgot to mute the stuff in the background. That's
Oh no.
so I was getting feedback. Anyway, shooting the breeze. I'm your host, TakersMinion, joined as always by my co-host, crime partner, best friend from the land of the rising sun, Mister Doctor Senju. Ohio gozaimasu. To you, sir.
Ohio. Yeah. Good evening. How are you today, good sir?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good. It has been a productive yet tiring week for me. Um, I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things business wise. I've done a lot of things writing wise. I even got to be inspired and write a piece, which is great on my end.
Yeah, I read that piece this week, and it was quite interesting. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about today.
I
Is
mean,
your
not just
op?
that. I think there's a lot more things to be
Oh,
talking.
there's a lot of it. I mean, it kind of started last week, near the end of our show last week, when we were talking about, you know, our fandom and whatnot, and it was a subject that I felt that we needed to touch on more. So I figured out that one of the best people to bring in is the gentleman who generated not one but two articles, two posts called what was it, WWE rosters through the eyes of a 7-year-old,
Mhm.
Mr. Saskatchewan Spinning Nerve Hold, also known as Five. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
I
Thank
mean,
you for coming on. I
yes,
mean,
thank you. I mean, you're the guy who started it all.
It's these posts just kind of came out of, well, first of all, my son started watching wrestling a little bit. He'd poke in his head for a match or two and be
uh-huh.
like, oh, that's cool. And then he'd go off and do a little bit of playing. And then all of a sudden he really, really got into the product. So
Mhm.
he'd sit down and he'd watch Raw and he'd watch SmackDown with me. And I, like the rest of us, can be highly critical of the WWE at times or whatever wrestling that I'm watching.
Mhm.
Mhm.
As we grow older, things happen, we get jaded, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He comes in and he's like, you know, he focuses on whoever he liked and he's just cheering, he's jumping up and down, he's dancing, he's mimicking their entrances and catchphrases, and it just got me to sit back and kind of reevaluate where my fandom was coming from,
Mhm.
and then just kind of appreciate more, like put away all the criticisms and let's just enjoy it for what it is. So it's been an interesting couple months for me, and with my son, and I've actually had a real lot of fun doing these and getting his thoughts on the rosters. So I'm
Well,
glad that everybody's enjoyed them as much as they have, and
I mean,
uh,
you became famous. Two postings, two front pages. I
yeah,
don't, I don't remember that ever happening with anybody. Two in a row like that. That's
uh, uh,
congratulations to you.
well, thank you very much. I was expecting, a little generation of a little bit of interest, mostly among like the friends that I've made on the site and stuff. I honestly didn't. I didn't think that it would take hold the way that it did, and I'm honored that everybody liked them as much as they did.
Mhm.
And there were a few that kind of took offense to the first one, and I saw that, and I was like, "Dude, this is a 7-year-old's opinion. Give it a break, man. Jesus."
I mean, they're gonna be that guy, basically, if you want to say that.
There's always one that guy or that gal, whatever. It. What was the question I have for you, Craig? Is what was the inspiration for this?
Honestly, we were having a little chat, I think, in the daily the one day about you know uh, it was about Davy Boy Smith and how my son really, really loves Davy Boy
Oh
Smith.
yeah, okay.
And then that kind of just spurred me on. I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, like, I know he like really likes Davy Boy Smith, and That comes from like my fandom I grew up with Stampede Wrestling out of Calgary. I grew up in the Calgary area. So I'm a huge fan of obviously the Hart Foundation, like the whole Hart family.
Right.
And actually the very first match that I can remember watching as a kid was I believe it was right around 1982 or somewhere in that era. And it was Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid for the British Commonwealth Championship. And that match, like, I was instantly hooked. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. So I'm showing my son like some old clips of Davey Boy matches, and he just thinks he was the coolest thing ever.
Right.
And so then I was like, well, you know what? He's been watching this for a while. He knows some of the characters. He knows the people. I'm gonna get his thoughts on everybody and see how this goes over.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it got over.
It did.
Both of them got over. Someone, I checked it yesterday, and someone said he's got to do the NXT roster next, right?
Oh, of course.
Actually, the next posting, there is one more coming. It's in the works, and it's actually going to be on some of the WWE alumni, guys that aren't wrestling anymore, but that Gavin is familiar with. NXT 205 Live might come a little down the road. We haven't watched a lot of that, so he's not really familiar with all the characters.
Yeah,
so we'll have to give that a little time to get his thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, that was an interesting thing. I think I said to you something about doing an essay on having you two working together on an essay on Davey Boy Smith and then posting it was what I think I said.
Yeah, that's exactly where it started, and then this just kind of
grew from that.
Exactly, came out of that that discussion. So,
in a sense, well, yeah. So
that's interesting. I mean, I was kidding when I said that. I was absolutely kidding when I said that. But hey, you took it and ran with it. So hey, I'm not gonna say you're wrong for doing it. I think it's pretty cool that you did it.
I mean, it is still first and foremost an opinion piece. People can disagree about it, but you're disagreeing with a 7-year-old.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, that is petty. That is petty. If you're disagreeing with a 7-year-old on what he likes and don't like.
So who's the kid now? The 7-year-old or 30-year-old woman? I have no idea, but I mean, it's a good piece to it. It's a good. I think it's a good shakeup for most of us, or just most of us who's just feeling jaded about it all and whatnot. I mean, heck, I read it and I said, this is an interesting piece. Maybe I have to elaborate on it all. And yeah, I pulled out something out from my ass. So
yeah, you did. We're going to talk about that as well. I mean, it's interesting. This started a whole thing on fandom. It started a whole movement. There's been a lot more. I mean, hell, Kane Knight, who will be joining us later.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a fan piece, a piece about fandom as well. I mean, so it started something. It's like, it's pointing out to all of us older folk, and those are the
I think we
folk
can
like
consider
me.
Oh, okay.
I'm the old folks around here. I'm the oldest folk around here at 54.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it made me go back and look at my fandom. The two pieces or the first one that you put out 5 made me go back and look. Look at me, and I even said it last week. Yeah, I become jaded and I become a cynic because what it boils down to is that the WWE is not geared towards my age group whatsoever.
Never. It never is. It hasn't been ever since they switched to PG programming, which, again, if they want to argue that it is now geared towards kids, you're totally wrong. WWE program now is geared towards the PG-13 rating, not kids. Because they're more family friendly now. That's the, argument about it also.
Anyway.
But
Well, they're not PG-13. Even if they went PG-13, I don't think it would be so bad. But I think part of their problem as well is that they're now they've gone what's the word? They've gone PG because of they're a publicly traded company now, and when it was Attitude Era and whatnot, it was privately owned by Vince. He owned 100% of everything, and I mean they got in trouble with USA more, especially with D-Generation X and the famous promo that they cut, reading basically USA's letter on the air about what's the word? Their way they were doing things. What is that? I can't think of it. Standards and practices. That's it. We've all seen that famous promo. I've seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, Craig. Have you?
Yes, yeah. No, I followed quite religiously back then, so I have seen it.
I mean, that is one of the funniest promos I've ever seen. I sat through that whole thing, laughed. I laughed myself silly. Even today, I still laugh. That was TV 14.
TV 14.
Yeah.
Back then. So,
back then, when it was not as family friendly, and it is more.
Well, there were so many double entendres and sexual innuendo being thrown around at that time. Oof. It was bad.
But, in a sense, but I mean, would it be justified for them to for most of the people who are jaded, that they feel that the product should be geared towards us because we are the fans? And it says me.
That's
in a
way. What do you think, Five? I think he hit it on the. I think he hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, we grew up with it. We want what we grew up with to a degree. And I agree with that assessment totally. However, going back to the PG thing, I personally, as a parent of a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old, like the fact that it's PG because, back in the Attitude Era, there's no way in hell that I would have ever taken my kid to a show. Like, I don't need a 7-year-old seeing some of that stuff. Whereas today, if when they come through town again, we're getting tickets. We're going to go as a family. So, I appreciate that. But I do believe that, we grew up through yourself and me going through some of the territory days and then into the WWE, the Attitude Era. The storytelling has taken something of a step back. And I think a lot of us, that's why we're jaded. We want some better storytelling, some better characters, some better overall arc of the show. But
exactly.
And then you have the whole argument that the product is not geared to us anymore. I'm gonna stop watching. I'm not going to watch WWE again. I'm gonna switch to independent promotions. I'm gonna switch to other wrestling promotions. I'm gonna switch to watching other wrestling companies outside of the States and whatnot.
Right.
And I think that would be that is and if they say they want to, it's like they say they want to take their business elsewhere in a sense. Just to show that, and just to show WWE that we want this, we didn't get this, so this is our reaction. We're stopping.
Right.
But and we're not gonna watch the product again. We're canceling our subscription. We're not buying tickets anymore. We're not gonna go see WrestleMania. We're not gonna see house shows anymore. But if that is the singular titular mindset, wouldn't that had affected WWE back then in a way?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
You would think so.
But obviously, it's not a anyway. Every WrestleMania that comes up, they're bringing in, I mean, okay, it's attributed to higher ticket prices, all that, but they're bringing in record profits. So obviously, people are still watching and still going.
And another thing too is that it's become, and people are going to hate this statement, but it's become almost as coveted as a Super Bowl to a city. because of the amount of revenue that it generates just in the city that it goes to. You're looking at a couple $100 million of revenue for a city.
Well, exactly. That many people coming in. You got your hotels are booming, your restaurants are booming.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody's making a profit of it. So, of course, if you're a city, you're going to bid on that and hope that it comes to your town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. But like you said, Five, it's no different. I mean, we've all become jaded because of our fandom of what we want and what we had when we were kids.
And then when we didn't get anything, we kind of say, "Oh, this sucks."
I was talking about this with you before the show started. But I remember as a kid being excited for my guy going for the title in the 1 hour time, the 1 hour match, and I'm getting excited. My heart would start racing and pounding. I'd be sitting there, shaking like a leaf, watching the match, only to hear the bell, and it's looking like my guy's going to win, and only to have the bell ring. The time limit has expired.
Oh, the good old time limit draw. I forgot about those.
Oh, and you want to talk about disappointment. There were times I would literally cry over it. I would.
I mean, I think that's investment for you. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
That's not. Yeah, and that's not. I'm not saying that is wrong. That's totally your prerogative. I mean, that's totally a right way of reacting, I guess, because
as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, sure.
Yeah, because when you love the product so much, and then or you love a character so much, and you see your biggest heroes, biggest characters, best player in there getting beat down or had to overcome an obstacle and whatnot, you're just so invested because you're not think as a 7 or 8-year-old, you're not gonna instantly think, oh, this with the whole history or the whole Terada thing. You're just thinking, oh, this guy's awesome. This guy's doing what I love to do, to see them do in the ring. I like him. I like him. I love him a lot. It's just like your kid though, Greg. I like Roman Reigns a lot. He does the spear and the Superman punch looks awesome. It's just
exactly right. It's
how hard it is to argue against that. I'm gonna find, oh shit, if I argue, because as an adult you're gonna say, oh shit, if I argue against this, I'm gonna be stooping down to the level of a 7-year-old. Number one. Number two, if I say what I have exactly in mind, he'll be upset, and I feel like a jerk for that. If I follow his lead, then I kind of be lying to myself about it because I know. For example, maybe Roman Reigns isn't that good or whatnot, for example. But I don't want to tell him that because he's just a kid and he looks up to this guy, this character in the ring as a hero or a role model to look up to and whatnot. And how are you going to argue against it? You want to go up him and then just tell this? No, you're not supposed to cheer this and this and that. This guy sucks. You're not supposed to do that.
And that's probably been one of the hardest things for me to do. Like I sit back and I let him form his own opinions on everybody. Mm-hmm. But there's times when it's like he'll start cheering for or against like one of my favorites, and it's just like, oh, what, dude? What are you doing? It's like, why are you cheering for him?
And you want to correct him, but you don't because you want him to stay a fan.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my father and I would have arguments about wrestlers. Because the guy I liked, he didn't. And we'd get into he's sitting there, he's in his late 20s, early 30s, he's sitting there arguing with a 7-year-old.
Oh.
And my mother would be like, she'd call me, Wally, knock it off. You're 7 years old. It's true. We used to get into arguments over shit like that.
Oh, we've had a few ourselves, and it's kind of funny because even though I let him form his own opinions. He definitely follows a little bit of my tastes in things. Like, I mean, you always look up to your dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always, like, even as a kid, like, kind of tilted a little towards the heel side of things. Like, I loved the Hart Foundation as, heels. I was a huge Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect fan.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of picks up on that because, obviously I'll perk up in my chair a little bit when, like, The Miz Story Taker comes on or somebody like that. And so he kind of gravitates and picks up little bits of that. But, at the same time, if he wants to like somebody that I don't care about, I want him to just pick your favorites and run with it.
Mm.
Yep, that's what you want. That's what you want your kids to do, is have their favorites, support them, even though they may be go completely against our own grain of what we like.
Exactly.
They're the kids. It's for them. We have to try to remember that. And then, I don't have any little ones running around here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just me and the wife. So we sit there and we discuss a lot of stuff about wrestling. And, when she saw the Demon
Mm-hmm.
at SummerSlam, she marked the hell out. She's watched that match 6 times because she loved what they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's her, and I'm not going to fault her for it.
And it's instances like that bring us back to that fandom that we had as a kid. I marked out when the Demon came out.
Nobody expected it. Nobody.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or when the Shield reformed. Like, I'm sorry, yeah, I was pretty excited. I marked out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gavin and I were actually high-fiving on the couch when we watched that. So,
high-fiving when they put Braun through the table too, I bet.
Oh, he loved that. Oh, man.
I know. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Table match.
Oh man. It's hard to argue against that kind of perspective, because then you'd think back then you don't have those kind of you don't have adults like those telling you that no, this is not the guy you should be cheering for, or no, this is not the guy you should be booing against. Back then we just, okay, I like this guy. No, I like this guy. You're gonna go argue with your friends at the same age and the same demographic and whatnot. No, I like this guy. No, my guy is better. Oh yeah, we'll see next week when these two guys fight, and we'll see whose guy's better.
Right.
that's
it's like there's a particular individual on the threads that
mm-hmm.
absolutely worships the ground that the Iconics walks. And
you're gonna knock on this one a lot more than I think.
I cannot for the life of me understand why. In my opinion, they both are terrible in the ring.
Well, I won't say they're terrible in ring, because outside of WWE, they have actually good in ring skills.
Right. We know. I know this too. But the thing about it is, in a WWE ring, they suck. You guys cannot tell me they job more than R-Truth does.
And well, R-Truth did win this week, so
yes,
that's
he
a
did.
surprise.
He actually beat the Miz.
Oh, and you're gonna have a cheer out.
I really hope they give him a little bit of a push here. Give him the U.S. title run or something for a bit. R-Truth is so damn entertaining. Like, I laugh whenever that guy is on my screen.
I mean, did you hear the place? I mean, they were even popping for Carmella with him. I mean, that is a perfect match. Those two screwballs working together would be. And I consider Carmella a screwball because she is. Her Steiner math stuff, nah. Because, Asuka, Charlotte beat Asuka. I beat Charlotte twice, so I'm twice as good as Asuka. No, sorry. Yeah, she beat Asuka twice because of Ellsworth, but that's a whole other issue. But no, you think about it. I mean, I didn't know it. I looked at it. I watched it. I mean, the crowd was going absolutely crazy over it.
And everybody wants to see a guy like R-Truth. He's been around for how long now? Like for as long as I can remember. He's a good hand. He's a good dude, and I love seeing those guys get the reward.
Mm-hmm.
Hell,
I agree.
he was around when Kurt Hennig was wrestling.
Yeah, he did. Let's see.
He was born January. He's 46 years old.
Yeah, my
He
guess is correct.
debuted.
He basically wrestled for 21 years.
Yeah, he's on
21 years
he's
all
been
across the world.
He's been in the business 21 years.
Yeah, he has wrestled through numerous companies, a lot of the big companies.
Oh, he's been everywhere.
Let's see: World Wrestling Federation, Memphis Championship Wrestling, Extreme Pro, TNA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Christian man who does raps. I mean, they had him on Table for Three with Curtis Axel and I think Bo Dallas? No. Oh, who else was it? But he actually had a picture of him in the ring with his father that he gave to Curtis Axel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that one up. I missed that one, but that would be a good one to see.
Oh, and here it was The Miz. It was The Miz, Curtis Axel, and him. And good God, is it funny. You will laugh through most of it because it's hilarious. They talk about when Miz trying to rap. That's all.
Miz, he knows how to freestyle, but he can't rap.
Yeah.
Oh well, but I agree with that. Though he has been wrestling for about 21 years. At least in our small fandom, we just want to see R-Truth get the reward that he deserves for the gold watch that he kind of sort of deserves in a sense. Because that's just us feeling good and whatnot. But then again, when they don't really give R-Truth the gold watch and whatnot, we'll say, it's okay. He has a fruitful career. He has had a fruitful, a lengthy career all across the board in terms of wrestling.
Absolutely.
And so, in a sense, that fandom really doesn't affect us as a whole a lot more, rather than say more bigger established names like say Finn Balor or if you want to go outside of the box, say Tetsuya Naito in a way. So, in a sense, is that? I mean, there's people seem to forget that even they're going to give it a good pass for Tetsuya Naito not winning the title or not winning the belt at NJPW's G1, not giving that chance to win the belt or have the opportunity to win the belt and finally crown him as the champion. Oh, you haven't seen the backlash people are saying that no, Naito did not win anything. I'm quitting watching NJPW from Japanese fans if you want to know. So.
Wow. Our other guest fight has arrived. It's Mr. Kane A. Knight, another one of our fan posters who seems to be getting pretty popular. Good morning, Kane.
How's everyone doing?
We're doing good. Well. We're talking about the Saskatchewan Spinning Nerve Holes, 2 posts about the WWE roster through the eyes of a 7-year-old.
Well, I'm pretty sure by the time he's 8, he's going to hate Roman Reigns, right?
Probably.
What did you think? I know. I'm pretty sure you read those posts. Did you not, there, Kane?
Yes.
What did you think of them?
I think it's always refreshing to see the perspective of a kid, because grown ass adults watch this stuff and can easily just criticize the hell out of everything, and then you see the kid, and the kid's like, dude, like the spear's awesome. It's like, oh, okay.
Roman Reigns is God,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And number 5's post actually inspired me to just say what I wanted to say about perspectives like that. I mean, we criticize the hell out of the product 24/7, and yet there's a 7-year-old kid saying that Roman Reigns is super cool. The Miz is awesome. Really, really awesome. And
he doesn't like Alexa Bliss though.
Yeah.
He does like Alexa Bliss. He's
does.
quite enamored with her. In fact.
Well, I mean, I go back. I mean, I don't maybe. If I'm not sure if you guys have spoken about this already, but when I was 7, I was a big time Hulkamaniac. It was 1990 or so. I'm a 7-year-old. I love Hulk Hogan. You know, my brother was a big Hulkamaniac. My brother got, you know, I got into wrestling because my brother was into wrestling, and so like I liked the people that he liked. So if he told me that, you know, Big John Studd was an asshole, then I'd be like, yeah, sure, that guy's an asshole, you know. So I kind of fought along with my brother's rooting interest. And then
you were never a leader; you're a follower, eh, Kane?
At that point, you know. And then, by around 1992, or maybe I was 9 or so, I think is when I started to be like, you know what, I don't know about this Virgil guy. I really don't know. You know.
Hulk Hogan is going to be mine.
Right. I mean, there was Repo Man, and I was like, I don't know. I really like Demolition, but Repo Man. What's going on here?
Yeah, Barry Darso, Repo Man.
Yeah, so.
But you're sharper than me because I had no idea that the Repo Man was the guy from Demolition until I was much older.
He was.
Yeah, Barry Darso was the Repo Man.
Back in when I was like 18 years old or so, I was doing like this like daycare thing in the summer, and so I was talking to a lot of, you know, kids in that 7 to 11 or 12-year-old range, and a few of them were into wrestling, and so I was chatting with the one kid. He's maybe 9 or 10 years old about wrestling, and it was interesting because he kind of was talking in a way where he knew it was scripted, but at the same time he would still be like, I just don't understand why Kane like assaulted Shane McMahon, like I don't get it, you know, or whatever it was. And so it was interesting because like he was figuring it out, but he still wasn't there, you know. So it was
like if I was to tell you my favorite back when I was 7 years old, you'd probably go, who the hell is that?
Who is it?
Dick the Bruiser.
Oh, that was your favorite when you were 7.
Yeah, he was my favorite, and he was a heel.
Right. Exactly. Were you smoking a cigarette already at 7?
No, but I'm smoking now. That's why you heard me hack. Sorry, guys. But no, my guy was Dick the Bruiser. I absolutely loved him. I liked Wahoo McDaniel.
So when you were 7, what was your reason for why did you like Dick the Bruiser so much?
Because my dad thought he was cool.
Okay. Yeah.
My dad turned me on to him when I was like 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I became a diehard mark for him. Okay. Yeah. And then I got, you know, then there was, you know, the tag team was the Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher, who my wife's father used to drink in a local bar in South Milwaukee with.
That's cool.
You know, but Terry Lasowski had to tell the cops where he was going to be. If a bar fight broke out.
Exactly.
He was tough.
I mean, I still love the whole viewpoint of a 7-year-old with Sash, and like for example, his kid says the Revival is his favorite team. They have matching trunks, and the Shatter Machine is cool.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's really interesting because, you know, the Revival really haven't done much on the main roster. So for him to already...
What do you mean? They just got the tag titles.
Well, they got the tag titles. Yeah, they just won the
tag titles last Monday.
The Revival. Oh, well, they were gonna fight for the tag titles, but something happened to them backstage. I don't really remember what it was.
I think it was the injury. I think there was an injury to...
both of them were injured at one time, separate times.
Yeah, both
of them
separate
were hurt.
times. And both of them were hurt, and then they came back, and they didn't do much when they came back, and then suddenly they won, and then suddenly you have the kid.
Into jobbers. I mean, that's what's the problem with 90% of the tag roster on Raw.
Oh, let's not forget. The Revival had job to DX back in the Raw anniversary.
Raw 25. Yep.
Well, that's why, you know, I haven't really watched a lot of NXT, so my experience with the Revival is just about almost all main roster stuff, and they've done very little to stand out on the main roster. And I'm not putting that on them necessarily. I'm just saying, as an act, they don't stand out on the main roster yet. And I thought that they were going to get the tag title shot and finally get like this push, but obviously that didn't happen. So I think it's interesting that your son is like, yeah, you know, they're cool and blah blah blah, because I would think like if they're not getting spotlighted, that the little kids might be like, these guys are losers. You know?
Well, yeah, you know, that would kind of surprise me too, and I because he hadn't seen them in Revival in the NXT days.
Right,
I think he might have caught like a YouTube match here or there or something, but he just latched right onto him, and he's like, these guys, like, they work as a team, and they're like, it's like, dude, like, are you channeling B or what's going on here? Like, because I didn't push him towards the Revival. Like, I personally love them.
Yeah.
But he just, he latched onto them, and he's just like, he's like gung ho for him. Like, I would say they're probably his favorite tag team out there at the moment.
Yeah, I look at it like this. I've seen the Revival work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in NXT and on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of remind me of the era wrestlers that I watched.
Yeah, they're old school tag team.
They're like old school tag team. They're
like the Anderson brothers. They're like the Anderson brothers.
Yeah, they're like Ole and Gene.
Martin.
No, Ole and Gene.
Oh, okay, Ole and Gene. Okay.
Yeah, and they're also like they're, you know, Arn and Tully. They're like Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. They don't do a lot of high flying stuff. They literally beat the hell out of you.
Hmm.
And if you look, a lot of times they're both their opponents. Both of them are laid out in the ring when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's interesting with them is that, you know, I get so used to the WWE style and so many of the performers kind of following a similar style that I'm not even paying attention, I guess, to the Revival. I'm just waiting for them to get a push. And maybe it's quite obvious and apparent to a 7-year-old that, hey, these guys are different from everyone else, you know, when they just see their the way they work a tag match, you know?
They are different.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, because it's like, really, nowadays with the tag teams, you just throw two people together and see what sticks. Where these guys are a cohesive unit, and you don't see it as much. Like, and I should say they're probably his favorite tag team on Raw, because he really, really, really loves the Bludgeon Brothers.
Are you kidding me? He's got to be heartbroken that they lost their title.
Oh, he was so mad. I think that's part of the reason he hates the New Day so much, is because he was like such a Bludgeon Brothers mark.
Well, does he know that Eric Rowan's hurt?
He does.
Okay, that's why they had to do that. That's why they had to lose it.
Yeah, and I mean he knows it intellectually, but I don't think it quite. You know, he knows that he's hurt and he can't be wrestling, but he doesn't quite understand that. You know, why they had to lose the titles, but you know, that's something that'll come with growing up.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to say the least, but yeah, you know, listen, you know, it harkened me back to being a kid and why I got into this in the first place. And now with you know, the internet and the different websites that you can go on and talk about wrestling, they're soap operas, man. The websites are a bunch of soap operas about wrestling, and it does get tiring, to say the least, to, you know, go in there, you know, you've got your opinions, you voice your opinions, and immediately you're attacked by 20 people trying to tell you you're wrong. And Kane, you've seen me bite my tongue so many times. That's why I right now I've taken a break from the threads for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm not around. I don't want to be around. It's because I'm seeing factions again. I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on that happened once before, and I don't want to be involved with it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not wrong to form your kind of own opinion. But when you're going to argue against a 7-year-old, again, I
don't argue against a 7-year-old. I'm arguing with other, for the most part, adults.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is they're not 7-year-olds.
They're not 7-year-olds, but they're acting like 7-year-olds.
Right. It's like, come on, people. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. I mean,
I can only imagine what kind of grief you would get if you were to do YouTube posts like we do, like this show does, where you actually do a little write up and then you run your little video that you run, and what kind of comments you would get, Kane. Yours are like inserted as advertisement little boxes, you know.
I mean, look, there was a thing of 2015. Sorry, this is a very isolated example, but 3 years ago or so, when Nikki Bella was about to beat AJ Lee's record for the longest Divas Championship reign. I wrote something for Cageside Seats where I just calculated because whatever it was, Nikki Bella celebrated at midnight, I've tied AJ or whatever, and I calculated the exact length of the reign. It was like, actually you have 13 more hours to go or whatever it was, some technicality like that, and the response that we got from the Bella army or whatever the hell they call themselves on this may have been Twitter, not YouTube, but it was just we're gonna shoot an arrow in your ass and cook you in an oven or something, and you're shoot an arrow in your gobble ass and put you in my oven or something, because it's around Thanksgiving, and it was just what the hell is wrong with you people? You can be fans of whoever your favorites are. You can be fans, and sure, you can be annoyed if you got a little pushback from people who don't like your favorites, but come on, have a little bit of perspective here.
That's you see how fandom has gotten. Do you see how adult fans have gotten? I mean, I myself, and I've said this last week, Kane, I don't know if you heard it or not, I've become a cynic and I'm jaded as all hell when it comes to the product today. I am.
I'm jaded too. I don't think it's wrong to be jaded. I think it's just, look, if you're watching the show with a 7-year-old kid, you should react differently in front of the child. Yes. You have to know your audience. If you're in a room with a bunch of 28-year-olds and all of you are super hardcore into NXT or whatever, then sure, you could go a little harder, nitpicking a few things. You know what I mean? It depends who you're with. You should be able to be a little versatile.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah. And that's a problem. That's one of the problems that I've discovered as of late, is that you can have an opinion, but are you really willing to put up the argument needed to help people understand your opinion and respect your opinion?
Right. If you argue it like you're a douchebag, then no one is gonna,
when I have heated discussions, I am not the douchebag. They are.
Right.
You see it more than once, Kane, because you complimented me on how I handle it.
No. This is one thing I recommend anyone when it comes to internet commenting is if things are going in a bad direction, just ignore it or walk away. You don't have to. There's nothing.
Use the famous line. At this point, we will agree to disagree.
Right. Yeah. If that doesn't work,
exactly.
If you try all that,
that doesn't work either.
Ignore. I've heard from so many people how can I ignore them? I can't ignore. It's yes, it's really easy to ignore someone that you can't even see. That's not they're on the internet. You can ignore. It's easy to ignore someone on the internet.
Yeah. Yes, you can. Turn off your phone.
Go do something else. Go watch YouTube.
Right.
I have been binge watching. I'm going through my third trip through Winds of War right now. On YouTube. Mm-hmm. The whole miniseries. I'm on the third part of my third time going through it. You know what? I've enjoyed myself doing that. And I've not been involved. The only time I'm doing anything wrestling related is here. I mean, I'll go into the threads and I'll read, but I'm not sitting there. And there's a lot of things I've wanted to say, but I said no. I'm taking a break. I'm not going to comment. I've made that clear.
Has it extended into your actual viewing of wrestling? Are you still watching the same, or is it just the way you're interacting with others right now is different?
What I'm doing is I watch.
Yeah.
And I keep my opinions until I come here.
Yeah, that sounds completely reasonable. Everything you're saying, you're enjoying you're watching the show, you have your thoughts, and if for whatever reason you think it's not enjoyable or worth your time to deal with the internet commenting right now, then take a break.
I mean, I did it before, Kane. You remember? I just up and disappeared. I didn't say anything. I just up and disappeared.
Yeah.
And I mean, this time in the daily, I wrote a nice little thing and said, "Hey, I'm taking a break. This is why. Like I said, I'm seeing factions form. It feels that if you're not part of the, cool kids group, you're going to get shit on. There were people that didn't want to speak with me. When I tried to interact with. And it's like, what have I done? What have I done to offend these people?
Well,
and
basically the argument. Yeah, but basically, I think they wanted the answer. They just don't know how to formulate it. It's just that you're not part of my fandom. That's the overarching truth about it all. You're not part of my fandom. And
they would judge. All I'm saying is, all I've ever wanted is people to be honest with me.
Exactly.
You know, I'm brutally honest with everybody. Kane, you know that.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it hurts. But hey, I'm not gonna paint a pretty picture for you just to give you what you want. I'm gonna tell you what I think and what I feel.
Well, the truth really does hurt. You just don't know about it. The only
there's a famous line that my wife has said to me that her son says.
Mm-hmm.
Her oldest son says, "If you don't want the truth, don't ask the question."
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I already told my piece extensively about it all because when you were kids, you were thinking like this. You're thinking in a more simple dynamic, and when you grow up, you think about other kind of stuff a lot more. You have to think about a lot of things in your perspective, in an adult's perspective. When you were kids, you just okay. What's for dinner?
When you're a kid,
what's for dinner? When is my friend coming to my place? We're gonna play some Legos or just put up some plastic toys and play soldiers and whatnot, or watch wrestling, and we both cheer for the people we like and people we don't like in front of the TV, looking ridiculous, but we were just having fun. So yay! And then when you grow up, you're growing up being highly critical and highly realistic of what you want.
But the question I have, and I don't know if any of the three of you can answer this because I sure the hell can't, is at what age did I become such a cynic? You know, what age did you become a cynic? What age did you become so critical of the product?
I mean,
you know, when did you realize that you were jaded, and when did you realize you were such a cynic when it came to the product?
You know what's interesting? I think it was actually like for me, it's a different kind of cynic because this is pre-internet, but around 1994, or maybe this is going into 95. Whenever I was like I said, I was a big Hulkamaniac in the early 90s. Hulk Hogan goes to WCW, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to watch WCW now. I was like a WWF kid or whatever, and so I started watching. I was watching both then, and maybe a year into Hogan's run, whatever it was, this was probably maybe fall 95, he starts doing the Dungeon of Doom thing. And this is just some of the most god-awful piece of crap wrestling I've ever seen in my life. and at the same time in WWF that year, it was probably earlier in the year, but you had the Lawrence Taylor main eventing WrestleMania, you had Doink the Clown. I mean, there was a lot of just Mabel. I think King Mabel, I think that was a big thing that summer against Diesel. It was just like, man, this sucks. And so I found ECW later that year. It gets to the point where I was like, this is not good enough. I need something better than this crap. And I was maybe 12 years old then. So I think I was getting pretty jaded by
then. Those exact things were probably about the time that I started, and then I kind of put them away. But then when WCW went under, and then the whole invasion angle, I was all rejuvenated. I'm like, this is going to be so good. They're going to do whatever. And they just shit the bed. and that was right then and there. That was the killer for me. I was like, well, this could have been so good. And why? Why was it so bad?
I can tell you why it was so bad. A lot of the big names in WCW had those contracts with AOL Time Warner that it was better for them to go home and sit at home for 18 months and get paid versus coming over to WCW or coming over to WWE at the time. And,
you're trying to say Booker T versus Buff the Stuff didn't get your attention?
Buff was never a great wrestler. I'm sorry.
He was not. No, he was just about he was just about his look.
I think back when he was Marcus Bagwell, he was okay.
Hey man, American males have one of the greatest theme songs ever.
Yeah, I mean we can, or I just happened to find something on YouTube this morning that I had forgotten about. Who here remembers the character in WCW called Seven?
Oh, I do.
Oh, refresh my memory. It sounds so familiar.
Well, I can
Wasn't
tell
that
you. Go ahead.
that was Alex Wright, right? When he
No.
I think he was Berlin.
No, this is Goldust. This is Dustin
Goldust.
Runnels.
oh right.
Oh,
that was
Runnels.
Was this like 2000 or something, or the year 2000?
1994, 5, somewhere.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I must have totally. Okay, I don't remember.
He was. I think he was.
I can look it up.
1999 to 2001 when he was in WCW. He came out as. Is it? I think no. No. I think not.
Dustin Runnels was working for WCW when he went under.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it was 1999 to 2001. So yeah,
Okay.
he was already there, but you know.
Yeah. Okay, I'm correct.
He basically came out and just shit all over the character.
Yeah.
He did. He cut a promo and shit all over it.
It sounds very familiar. Yeah.
They made a promo for him. They made a promo for him as Seven, signifying that he's a stalker. He's a stalker and whatnot. Creeps through windows and then at one night when he was supposed to debut and cut a promo live TV, he came out and shit the whole bed with the whole thing.
On the whole character. Okay.
Yeah, on the whole character. He's just
he did. It's on YouTube. Just look up Dustin Runnels 7 and you should find it.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, because that is something. I mean. Because he's sitting there talking shit about the Goldust character.
Right. Well, look, it sounds like this was the final year or so of WCW, and I was paying less attention then. So I probably wasn't watching live. Or
I know I was, because I was watching WCW for the longest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting tired of the NWO run-ins.
Yeah.
Freaking 2-3 times a night, you'd have NWO come out there.
Yeah, NWO had like 27 members at some point. I'm exaggerating. I don't know what the exact number was, but it was like everyone was in the NWO at some point.
Exactly.
So like every match, it was like every match had to have an NWO run-in because everyone was in the NWO.
Exactly.
And it was just bad. They took a good thing and destroyed it.
I remember around April or so, '99 is when they broke into the Wolf Pack and the black and white and the red and black or whatever.
Red and black was Wolf Pack.
And it was clear then that the black and the white guys are the jobbers, because it was like, for the most, like Stevie Ray was their leader or whatever it was.
Hulk Hogan was part of the.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. They eventually, at some point, it became more distinct that I'm sorry, April '98 maybe is when they broke up. I'm sorry, I'm probably off a year, because January '99 was the Finger Poke of Doom, and that's when they kind of all went back, brought together again. But at some point,
what a mistake.
Yeah, at some point, there was a clear distinction where I think Stevie Ray was like officially in the storyline recognized as like the leader of the black and white, and it was like, what's going on here?
Jesus, it was just bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, talking about, because you guys are suddenly crossing over on NWO, I'll just tell you easy. I quit when I was entering college. I quit that. I know. I quit when I was almost finished. I quit when I was starting college. I came back again when I was finishing college. So there's that, because there's a lot of things that I had to concentrate on more. Wrestling took a back seat, and I was not really interested with the whole thing. So there's my point where I was being jaded, and then when I came back,
there was a stretch for me of about 12 years that I didn't see wrestling regularly, and that's from 2001 to 2013.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
Because I was driving a truck back then. I was out on the road. Truck stops. You go to put on wrestling. They'd be like, "Screw you!" Community TV, so it's like, well, I'm not going to see it this week. And
was there a specific thing that brought you back to it in 2013? Was it just like your work situation, or was there an actual like thing happening in wrestling that brought you back?
I had an accident and lost the contract that I had with the trucking company, and had to stayed at a motel for 3 years. And
right.
That's where I got back into it, was watching TV, having cable again.
Back into the loving embrace of the arms of pro wrestling.
And then I found Cageside, which I joined in 2015, I think it was. I have to look again.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed myself at first, and then the daily got real snotty, and I kind of,
When you came back to wrestling, was the jadedness not there for a while? Were you like?
It was not there for a while, because I was learning the new characters, and I was picking and choosing. Undertaker was still around, and I'd been a mark for Undertaker for since 19.
Okay, so can you tell me something? And if this is a tangent, you can shut me up. But Undertaker became Biker Taker in 2001, and that was around the time you stopped watching. What's your experience with Biker Taker? Have you not seen much Biker Taker?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I liked, I liked, excuse me, I liked Undertaker.
Yeah.
Even though Biker Taker wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh please! You lived in the era where Undertaker was Texas Red, and you still liked him.
I watched Texas. I saw him as Texas Red down in WCC. So I've been following him since he started. I remember his Mean Mark Callis with the hard punch as a finisher in WCW.
Yeah.
And I say that to people, and they're like, "Huh?" I said, "Go look it up." This character of the Undertaker, he's been for close to 30 years now. And people don't understand, hey, he wrestled as somebody else before. And, I always saw something about him that there was just something about him. He had a presence, even as Texas Red, he had a presence. And
are you looking forward to Undertaker versus Triple H at the Super Showdown?
You got two old men there.
Right.
Well, but here's the thing. Yeah. Triple H has got to get all his shit in, or he's not going to be a happy man. Their Hell in a Cell match was a great blow off. It should have just left it alone.
You mean it should have been the end of an era? Is that what you're saying?
It should have been the end for those two, period.
Yeah. I think, my expectations are sorry, I'm going to be jaded, cynic asshole now, but my expectations are pretty low because I feel like even when these guys were closer to their prime, I remember, I think it was King of the Ring 2002, they main evented a pay-per-view. This was Biker Taker, and the match sucked. And this is when Triple H was all buffed up and this isn't like 2000 Triple H where he was nimble and moving around good. Like Triple H was bigger and slower in 2002. And when they had their matches at WrestleMania, actually, okay, the WrestleMania 17 match was real good, but the more recent ones, it was the streak. If the streak wasn't there, I think those matches probably would have been pretty blah. The streak not being a thing when they fight is, I think, it's going to take a lot away from this match, and we're going to see they're two old dudes kind of hobbling around. So very jaded take right there, but my expectations are not too great.
Well, the way it happened at WrestleMania with John Cena and Taker, I liked it.
Oh, it's this year. Yeah.
I absolutely loved the absolute terror John Cena sold.
Yeah.
When he sat up, which was great.
Triple H fought John Cena in the Saudi Arabia show a few weeks after that, and it was just like, it wasn't a bad match, but it was just
boring.
It was just a basic match. And granted, it's the show opener, so maybe in the main event, Triple H will bring some more intensity or something. But I don't know. It was just like, man, this match is nothing. And so like Triple H and Undertaker, you're the main event, I assume, of Super Showdown. Like you gotta deliver the goods. Like when you look at this roster and you have AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, all this great talent, like if you're in the main event, you gotta do something better than what John Cena and Triple H did in the opener of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
But I don't think that's going to be the main event, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
Well, it's going to be Roman Reigns versus somebody.
Oh, I think they're doing a 3-on-3 match. I think it's the Shield against Strowman and Ziggler and McIntyre.
Oh,
I think.
There you go.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yep. That's just a total cluster.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the overlying factor is that, because I wrote this in a piece last year about on a reaction to Sean's piece about how he became a fan of wrestling, and I did point out that at a certain point in time, maybe I had outgrown wrestling, perhaps about roughly the same time when I was getting jaded about it all, and then suddenly coming back to it after watching a lot of Botchamanias and whatnot, laughing my ass off at and whatnot, and then suddenly, okay, maybe I am slowly getting to be pulled back into wrestling. And then I became a little bit like, I view wrestling, but I watch wrestling, but then I have to start nitpicking about it and then talk about it. This is something wrong, this is something good. And that's it.
Yeah,
I think
that's another problem I have, Kanan. I don't know if I'm sure you've been through it. I do. I've been doing this weekly podcast now for almost a year and a half. Jesus, it's been almost a year and a half. And we started out real heavy on Raw and SmackDown. That's basically all we did. And I was getting to the point where I dreaded watching this shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there picking it apart constantly. I could find every little freaking detail, every little thing wrong with it, and just go on and on and on and on. And it's to the point sometimes where I just, I've got 3 Raws on my TiVo and 3 SmackDowns that I haven't watched. And it's like I can go watch the highlights and find out what's going on. If something catches my attention, I'll go look it up on TiVo to watch it.
Right.
So it's like, and then that's why I hardly have anything to say about him anymore, because it's like, I don't know if this is me being jaded or being cynical or both or neither. Raw and SmackDown at times are boring as hell.
Well, when you watch enough WWE television, well, Raw and SmackDown anyway, you get the drift that most of the television matches, you really don't have to watch the part before the commercial break if it's like a two segment match or whatever. You just have to watch we're trained as viewers that it's basically just the finish that you have to watch. So like if they're putting on and granted we did get an amazing Seth Rollins Kevin Owens match that you were probably rewarded as a viewer if you watch the whole thing. But most of the matches are just kind of just watch the last 2 minutes. And so it can get draining if you feel like for the podcast, I have to watch this entire match and be able to break it down and all this stuff. But as you're watching it, then you kind of realize I know I really don't need to watch this match.
Exactly it. And if you've noticed how the format has changed, where we pick and choose what we talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of being a wrestling fan nowadays, because you have options. You have a wide variety of options. That's what we want. If you don't like the product, you can you can get up, take your business elsewhere, and watch another form of wrestling show.
Yeah,
because with the technological advancements that you can get when you can just surf the internet and type in any kind of wrestling promotion, and you can actually kind of get the material you wanted to watch other than WWE, then you're going to be happy with that.
Well, I mean, it's one of the great things about the Attitude Era is that I'm using that as a wide encompassing thing to count WCW and ECW as well at that time. But it's just or Monday Night Wars probably is the better term for it. But I remember every Monday night, I was in high school at the time, but so I have some school crap I'm doing. I have the TV, and I'm just constantly flipping the damn channel back and forth. Oh, what's Austin doing? Oh, what's Goldberg doing? Oh, what's this guy doing? It was so even if the one show sucked, there was usually something and they're the competition they raised, everyone's kind of raising their own kind of game and everything. It was just there was always something Monday nights were an event, even if the show sucked. It was the other show was probably giving you something good. It was just, now if the show sucks, it's just kind of like a soul draining experience.
One of the things that killed WCW was the reveal of Mick Foley winning the title.
Right.
Yeah, one of the major things that
everyone flipping over.
And Bischoff admits that it was a big mistake.
Yeah,
because millions of people almost instantly switched over to that and watched it.
Exactly.
Even though it was recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going. Go ahead, Five.
Oh, I was just gonna say, living in Canada during that time was the greatest, because I could watch WCW live, and then the sports channel that showed Raw would show a replay right after WCW ended. So I didn't have to miss either one of them. So it was great being a fan back then.
Yeah.
You damn Canadians.
So now now it's a little different. If you want to get your alternate content, you have to rely on the internet more. But hopefully it's a long process. But hopefully it stays strong. The New Japan and everything, because we do. People need alternatives from WWE. So.
Yeah, because
now we're starting to see, these independents are starting to really take off. But, and I said this last week, are we seeing the rise of quasi-territorial system again? It's NWA, and the guy who I'm trying to think of his name now. It just slipped my mind. The guy who owned Michael or Corrigan.
Billy Corrigan.
Billy Corrigan. owns NWA.
Mhm.
Why doesn't he start aligning himself with some of these independents? And I think he is
Mhm.
to get to make the title more like it used to be, the traveling world championship.
Right.
And yeah, I mean the independent scene there's enough independents out there now
Yeah.
to do it.
And I think that's probably where his end game is going, but I think he's being really smart about it. He's not just, going through and, hey, we're going to do this. Like he's building the relationships, like, with the whole All In promotion there, and that YouTube series they got, the 10 pounds of gold. Like, I mean, I only caught a couple episodes of that.
Yeah.
Like, but they're great. They're really good. So he's building up an audience so that when he pulls the trigger, and this is just my opinion, and when he finally does pull the trigger on it, he's got the built-in audience, and he's going to have something that's going to be worth watching.
Right, but right now Cody Rhodes is his champion.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes took the title off of Aldis at All In.
Yes.
So I said that would not be I still say that wasn't a smart move because Cody's doing so much with Bullet Club Elite over in Japan right now. It's getting the lines are being blurred again.
Mhm.
I agree with that to a point, but I'm going to counter that it is a good move because the Bullet Club Elite, the New Japan, and all that is going to give more exposure to the NWA title. Bring some more eyes to it, and hopefully bring some eyes to that promotion and go from there.
That's true too, but I mean, it's like I was saying to MDS and you before the show, and Kane, you might want to chime in on this. I'm almost positive that NJPW World, that internet, their website, that subscription website they have to watch NJPW content, has more subscribers probably than WWE Network. I believe it. I would believe it does because of the a lot of people. There's there's a podcast that we promote here, Two Guys One Sport. They're big on NJPW. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah, and some of these guys forgotten that Two Guys One Sport once had criticized NJPW for their extensive usage of Bullet Club.
Yes.
People are saying that, Bullet Club is cool. We're just about getting fed up with the whole Bullet Club looking like NWO, new NWO, and jumping to the point where everybody is going to join the NWO, the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, one of the major criticisms that we did was NJPW is just a stable war. That's just it. Everybody is in a stable. Everybody is in a collective. There's no individual characters that you gravitate towards to. There are some, but these guys are in stables.
But that's what makes Chris Jericho as popular over there as he is, because he's not part of any stable.
No.
He's going over there and he's picking and choosing whose ass he's gonna kick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like after Kenny Omega had his match against Pentagon, all of a sudden there's Chris Jericho in the ring painted up as Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Painted up and masked up as Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Did Jericho convince any of you guys to take a ride on his cruise?
I'm not
Dude,
going, but
I would love to go on that cruise if I could.
well, one of my coworkers, her son and his girlfriend are booked on that cruise.
Really?
Already.
Oh man, that'd be cool.
What Jericho's doing this year is really awesome. It's interesting that he's a huge star in the history of professional wrestling, and he's at the point now where he's just like, dude, I'm gonna do, he's sort of like still on the cutting edge in a lot of ways, in terms of what he's doing. You know what I mean? Not necessarily like his actual performance in the ring right now, but he's extremely relevant in the world of wrestling, even without the WWE, platform. So he's really like his passion for pro wrestling is obviously clear, and he's kind of shown people like, hey, I'm a big freaking deal still.
You know, it's amazing. His career in professional wrestling, Chris Jericho's, was longer than his father's professional career in the NHL.
Oh, is that true?
And yes, I know who his dad is. It's Teddy Irvin.
You betcha.
Mm-hmm.
And Ted Irvin was not really a great hockey player. He was a journeyman, so I guess you could say.
Yeah, you can say that he's a journeyman. I think
Jericho's been wrestling since what, the very early '90s, or so.
I think it's the very early '90s.
Okay, it's a long time. It's a long time.
He started training in, I think, 91 with the heart,
With
the heart thing, and then or 90, 91, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's been, he's been around for a long time now.
But you know what? Talk about the pre-internet stuff. I didn't have internet in 1998, and I didn't know who the Millennium Man was going to be. And so when Jericho showed up, I mean, I knew who Chris Jericho was from WCW and ECW prior to that, so I knew who he was, but I didn't know he was going to be that guy. And so it was this amazing, awesome moment. And, you know, we're talking about being jaded and all this stuff. I wonder, you know, if it happened sort of today or maybe just even a couple years after that, when, you know, I had the internet the next year, say, like, would it have really I don't know if I want to use the word hurt, but would it have taken that moment down a few notches for me? If I probably would have. I mean, if I knew Chris Jericho was going to be that guy, you know. That's one of the big, obviously his most famous moments of his career is the Millennium Man.
Yeah, coming out and cutting promo against The Rock.
Yeah.
That you know, oof, I don't care who you are. That takes a lot of balls. And
it immediately positions you as a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, so that was probably one of the best changeovers from WCW to WWF that happened during that time.
Yeah, well, if we're going to start talking about the old Monday Night Wars and whatnot, one of the greatest recruiters for WWF, WWE at the time was Ric Flair.
Yeah,
Rick would tell people, go to New York, go to New York. He told Sting several times when he was young, go to New York, you'll make a fortune.
Right.
He says it. And Sting has confirmed it. Said, yeah, he did tell me to go to New York. I just never did. And Sting says he regrets it now.
Oh, well, I mean, okay, but what was it again? What was my thought process on this now? Oh, okay, I got it.
Okay,
I got it.
You had an interesting post about Kevin Owens this week.
Yes, Mr. Owens, who he quit from Raw, and now he's back.
Mr. I quit.
Mr. I quit, yes.
Yes, and
he's finally back. It's awesome.
After a week. I mean... they just took those two words and made it absolutely worthless. Like you said, I agree with you 100%. Okay. But that's me being jaded because, you know,
right.
What the hell is WWE doing here?
Right. The non-jaded perspective is like, come on, guys. They haven't even, like, it's only been one episode. Like, give it some time. We got to see what he says next week. The jaded perspective is, it doesn't matter what he says. He didn't have to quit. He could have just lost to Seth Rollins, been all pissed off about it, and then just attacked Bobby Lashley the next week, and there would have been no difference. So it's like, I can't even fathom whatever his explanation is. Even if it makes sense, I can't even fathom that it was worth destroying those two words. You know what I mean?
This is the problem. This is the problem with us as older fans.
Yeah,
we see through so much of the bullshit
because most of us have already seen what the company is capable of performing.
What gets me with the Owens thing is also this. It's like they brought him back. It wasn't an important, like, it wasn't with a McMahon. It wasn't in a major story. Like, it was with Jinder Mahal and Bobby Lashley. Like, if someone if they're gonna do like a big return angle, like, I don't know, it needs to be at in a prime segment or something. That was just like, ooh, like you're getting involved in this meditation thing. Like, that's not okay. Like not that that's not okay, but like, this is clearly not a big deal. Like, they didn't have major plans for him quitting, is what I'm trying to say. Because if they did, his return, even if it was just 1 week later, would have been in a more a bigger spotlight kind of a segment.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of like, you know, damn it, excuse me. they just kind of slid him in. Is what they did. Slid him into an angle with Lashley. Okay, what's his reasons for attacking Bobby Lashley? Bobby Lashley had nothing to do with him getting the shit beat out of him by Braun Strowman for weeks.
It's probably going to be Sami Zayn because I think in the storyline, I think Lashley's the one who took out Sami Zayn. I think that's the storyline. Sami Zayn's last match was against Lashley. Kevin Owens did refer to the Brute who destroyed Sami Zayn, I want to say, the week or two before that. So that's probably what he's going to say, is that, I'm doing it for my best friend.
Yeah, and when Sami Zayn comes back, he's probably going to stab him. He's probably going to stab Kevin Owens in the back.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I obviously when I'm writing that piece, I'm gonna be passionate in my point. I understand if people are like, give us some time to play out. I get it. So I'm not like, this is the worst thing ever.
You just opened up a Pandora's box with that statement. You know.
Okay, let me have it. What's going on?
Because that's the same thing I was saying to people about the Becky Lynch heel turn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Give it time.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to give it time.
Right.
Nobody.
Well, this is the thing. When we're talking about I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. I don't look at this as like it's 100% awful. Like I'm leaving the door open. You know what I mean?
But there are people in the threads, and you know who I'm talking about, Kane, who swear up and down that Becky Lynch needs to face.
Too many people. It's 100% or 0%. There's no possibility for anything else. So, and that's not a great way of doing it.
Exactly.
Because
I mean, they quickly give up on the idea. They quickly give up on the idea from the get-go, or probably just from one day.
Talk about Becky Lynch. I mean, I think she's been doing pretty damn great as a heel. What do you think?
I do too. I mean, the promos have been there. She's been spot on.
Right. Her performance is what I'm talking about. Her performance has been extremely convincing to me.
Yeah. All right. I do have to take a quick run out to go pick up the wife from work. I will return. So, MDS, you're in charge until I get back.
Oh no! How am I supposed to control all these guys?
You can control them. You're just fine.
No, don't leave me. Fine.
I'm sorry. I'll be back.
We're not going to fire up a John Cena movie right now and talk over it or something.
No, I'll be back.
Maybe not. But I mean, I think in the whole issue of it all, I think that's what inspired me to just write my piece about the whole perspective thing again. And again, I find it funny that people seem to miss the point. I mean, one of the commenters saying that the current program is definitely geared towards kids. It needs to be viewed that way. No, it doesn't. You're completely missing the point.
Well, look, this is the thing with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is an amazing performer. I mean, in my view, anyway. And so, right now, I'm pissed off, and I'm like, oh, that was such a wasted opportunity. I was hoping, this would be like a renewed push for him. Maybe he'd come back as a babyface. And right now, all of that seems off the table. But it's possible he comes out on Monday and just puts out like a killer promo out there, and all of a sudden, it's like, all right, Kevin Owens is awesome.
Go ahead.
And then from there, it's like it takes the edge off a little bit where I'm like, all right, fine. I'm glad I have Kevin Owens back in my life,
Exactly. I mean, it's funny. It's funny that on one night you say that, oh, this guy sucks because he cuts a bad promo or does something that you feel or think it is ridiculous or just crazy or just illogical, and then the next week comes out, does something good, all is good with the world again. Oh God! I mean,
changes on a dime.
Yeah, such short-termism in the form of thinking, and that's really apparent on what we're looking at with the fans. It's just short-term, and suddenly, we love Kevin Owens for what he's doing, and then the next day he does something of this. What the hell? What the hell are you doing? Just like what you're saying. Suddenly, simply saying after the match, I quit. Drops the mic, goes away. Next week, goes up, whacks against Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Owens, like, when he quit, like, it did look like it could be the beginning of a face turn because he had the amazing match at Rollins. Rollins, like, gives him that respect at the end of the match where Rollins just kind of nods, like, you took me to the limit. And then Owens quits, and it's like, okay, maybe he'll come back in a month or something, and he'll, something will be different. And on the surface right now, it seems like nothing has changed, and we'll have to see if that's true or not. But one thing I thought was funny is at the end of the show when Owens was joining the big ambush on the Shield, you can see. I watched it back over again. I didn't catch this the first go around, but so all the three Shield guys are in different areas of the arena getting their ass beat, and I want to say this was after Rollins was thrown into the police van and the glass shattered. Somewhere in there, Ziggler and Owens are over there with a couple other guys, and they pick Rollins up, and Ziggler, I think, is talking some kind of trash to him, and Owens actually slips in, and like Owens is always talking, is what I love about Kevin Owens. This guy's always running his mouth, and even there's no mic on him, nothing like that, but you can still hear it, where he says to Ziggler, "Hey, this guy took your title, remember?" Or it's like something like that, and then Ziggler like gives Rollins a super kick or something, but So I love that Owens is always he's always in character. You know what I mean? Like he's always in the zone, if you will.
Yeah, in a sense. And go ahead.
And he does the little things like that just so well. Like
right.
It just slips in. It slips in naturally, and it fits. And it's like it's something that so many performers out there just don't have anymore.
Right.
I mean, is it again determined by them or determined by us in the whole issue of fandomism here?
I mean, it's so the more I watch this stuff, the more I kind of go on the side of just it's so subjective that it's hot. There's no like right or wrong. It's just however you choose to consume it and react to it. That's if it works for you, that's fine. I mean, so there are people out there who would swear to me that Kevin Owens is like one of the most boring wrestlers on the roster. I don't see it at all, but I don't know. I don't have any objective way to evaluate to prove whoever's right or wrong. So I'm just like, all right, hey, look, if that's the way you see it, then that's cool. You know, that's fine. That's fine. So I don't know. Where are you guys on that? Do you think there, there's an absolute right or wrong on a lot of these questions, or how? What's your take on the subjectivity of pro wrestling? Like, how do you deal with it?
Well, go ahead. 5.
Well, I agree with you that it is a subjective thing, and that's personally what I always loved about it. Growing up, you'd have your favorites, your buddy on the playground at school had his favorites, and you'd argue back and forth, and it was, it was fun. It was an interaction.
Right.
And I think that was one of the big draws for me. Nowadays, I don't know. It's just sometimes I think the internet was the worst invention ever for this kind of stuff. Because it's like, something that you would say to somebody's face when you're arguing back and forth.
Right.
That goes away. Like now you're behind a keyboard. For the most part, you're behind an anonymous username. And people just spew stuff that you wouldn't say to your mother, and it's like, I don't know. I appreciate when people can have like a civilized opinion and discuss it in a civilized manner. Like it doesn't always have to descend into name calling and
right. I mean, plus it's like we're talking about pro wrestling. We're not talking about like, the world. The fate of the world lies on these decisions. It's exactly. Pro wrestling. Like you don't need to get like. So you're talking about civilized. Yeah, it never needs to be uncivilized. It's pro wrestling. Like
exactly.
I mean, I think it's more kind of say. In a way that how am I going to post this out in the easiest kind of way? Because I think it's the be all end all for most of the fans here, because this is they just wanted to find an outlet to live vicariously through their heroes in wrestling, in a sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that to them this is important. Me arguing about Becky Lynch turning face is incorrect and is correct, and Becky Lynch staying as a face is correct, and Becky Lynch turning heel is the wrong way to do things. That is my focus. That is my drive. That is what I believe. Dude, you know that you are getting into work on this one. You're slowly getting yourself worked up on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand adoration. I understand that you are a huge fan of certain things, but don't turn that into overzealousness about a certain product.
Right. Yeah. There's a nice balance somewhere in the middle where you could be passionate and I'm not trying to say people shouldn't vent about the things that annoy them. I think the internet it can be very cathartic in some ways, but sometimes, it's also good to take a step back every now and then and be like, all right, I don't need to be having steam coming out of my ears every freaking night over this.
And of course, considering that right now I'm doing this on a mostly regular basis, watching wrestling and reviewing and criticizing about the whole product.
Right.
If I hate WWE, what WWE has put on table so much, I can just switch on NJPW World, watch that, either be entertained by it or just say, this is going to be the same old, isn't it?
Right.
Then,
I mean, when I found ECW, that's exactly, ECW hit all the sweet spots for me. I didn't watch ECW with like, oh, this match was awful. Oh, this is garbage. And granted, it was only a 1 hour show, so there was less, I guess, content to pick apart. But so 3 hour Raws, you're gonna have a lot of crap on a 3 hour Raw. maybe it's not really appropriate to compare. I don't know, but it's just like if I think complaining is fine in pro wrestling, but there's a lot of content you can find out there. So if you're not if complaining about wrestling keeps you entertained, like if you're happy in some sense doing that, then I think it's fine. But like if you really are legitimately miserable, find another wrestling show to watch,
or just de-stress,
absolutely,
or just get out from it, de-stress.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you are a huge fan. It's just that sometimes when you get overzealous about certain things, that's where reason turns to feelings, and that's not good at all when you're trying to have reasonable discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
When your mindset slowly turns from rational to irrational, that's not exactly how you're going to go, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to be fueled by emotions rather than fueled by reasons.
And then plus, you put a bad name on everyone else who's commenting on the internet. You're like, oh, that stereotypical, Mark over there. It's like, oh, come on, guy, don't
just
don't,
smart.
don't
I don't do smarts. I don't do marks. I don't even consider myself either a mark or a smart mark. I'm just a guy talking about wrestling. You disagree with me? Please tell me why.
It's a very interesting topic to get into, mark and smart and all that, because it's like, it's in some sense it's an insulting term. So if you are like, yeah, I'm a mark, it's like you just like insulted yourself. But for some people, it's like they don't see it that way at all. And I'm not saying I necessarily have a understand where
problem.
I have a I marked out for this thing. I say that all the time. So it's an interesting topic to get into. The idea of if you say I'm a mark or I'm a smart mark. I think if you go back and watch Brian Pillman when he debuted in ECW, he cuts a promo about smart marks. And he's basically just like, you're a smart mark? Like, that doesn't even make any sense at all, you idiot. I mean, obviously, I'm putting words in his mouth, but he basically, he delivers it in the very Brian Pillman-esque only way he can. And it's pretty hilarious where he's just like, that term makes no sense at all.
Exactly. I mean, sure, if you want to say that I am a number one wrestling mark, okay, I'll accept that. Just that it's either going to be you have your points, you have your logical, reasonable discussion, or you just have your opinions. If you have your opinions, then I'm sorry. I will listen, but I'm not going to take it too much. I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt and then move on. I mean, it has been going on for a couple of years now. I think it's almost a year now that I got into the site and just, the same arguments, the same points that they want to espouse, and they want to say that this is right and this is wrong. This is how you should be booking. This is so and so. This is not how you should be booking so and so. I believe that this guy should have the title. I believe that this woman should have the title as well. When that happens, that means everyone want to have a say in it. I want this guy. I want that guy. I want this guy. I want that guy.
I think the business model for WWE makes it even more complicated, that conversation, and harder to kind of pick apart and understand well, because their business model is such that it actually it doesn't seem to matter right now who they push. Like, if they wanted to, they could just push the hell out of I don't know, Elias right now and push him to the main event, and I don't think it's going to affect their bottom dollar all that much. Like, so we're in a weird situation where it really doesn't matter what they do, I don't think, right now, and so it makes it more confusing for the fans, because it's like, well, they should book Kevin Owens to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, if it doesn't affect their bottom line, then why should that be the case? Like, that's what you want. But like,
it's basically what you want is not necessarily what WWE wants.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't mean necessarily that they should. And I'm not even saying I don't know what they should or shouldn't do. Obviously, what they're doing right now seems to be working, but a lot of it's because they have the big television contracts. So whatever they need to do to keep getting major television money is what they should be doing. And maybe, I don't know if there's no obvious. They just got the big TV deal, so they don't need to worry about it now for a while. But like, that's where their revenue, that's the major source of their money right now, is those TV deals. So whatever they've done to get those TV deals has worked, and maybe the product that we watch would be more interesting if they did X, Y, and Z. But from their perspective, they're doing very well financially right now. So I it's hard to kind of say with confidence they should be doing this or they shouldn't be doing that when they're swimming in the money right now.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to a point you had made there, Kane, the 3 hours on Raw and there being so much crap in there, I think that's why personally I enjoy like NXT and 205 Live more. It's, right. You've got a condensed hour. You like, generally the best wrestling of the week that I find for WWE anyways is on those two shows. Mm-hmm. Like right now, I think my favorite angle in wrestling is the whole Aleister Black whodunit thing. William Regal interviewing everybody in his office. I am so entertained by that, and it's given guys that maybe aren't in the ring a chance to shine. And by the way, I love the fact that he's got the brass knucks sitting on the little pedestal on his table.
Yeah, so 3 hours is way too long for a wrestling show. I mean, maybe. I don't know if you think there's a sweet spot where maybe it'd be perfect for NXT if it was 90 minutes, or maybe you think an hour is perfect. I don't know, but like 3 hours is so much, and it's just too much.
I agree. I mean, I espouse the whole. I've already been saying it a lot of times already. 3 hours is too long to keep a person sitting down watching TV in attention to watch a show. I mean, that's the reason why most movies even just stretch to about 2 hours, or maybe even 2 hours and 30 minutes, because that's the maximum amount of focus that they can actually put someone until they wanted to go somewhere else, so that their mind's getting distracted by anything else.
And what's interesting is I don't remember. I mean, I wasn't taking notes, so I can't say for sure. But I don't remember back when WCW Monday Nitro went to 3 hours. I don't remember thinking like, oh no, 3 hours. Like, this show is so long now. Like, I remember being pretty excited about it. And also it was always, oh well, 1 hour into the show it's going to be Raw, so it's going to go back and forth again. But I don't remember being so like they're taking my soul away with this extra hour. So I wonder what the difference is. I mean, it's a very different landscape right now. There is no other show. Maybe it's that simple. But it seems like a lot of Raw is like there's so much filler on the roster right now. Like you have your Braun Strowman Roman Reigns story, and I forget who said it, but like the whole tag team scene outside of, they just made the change right now with Ziggler, but like prior to that, all these tag teams are basically low card. Like, there's no reason to care about these tag teams. And look what happened to the Revival this week. Like, it looked like maybe something would be happening with them, and now no. So it's hard. Like, it's hard to keep enough acts over in a big way to make that 3 hour show interesting all the way through. And they've been doing 3 hours now for 6 years now or something like that. And it's never clicked for me. Even when Daniel Bryan was doing his thing, like there were always some great highlights, but 3 hours has always been too long every time in these last like 6 years. I don't think I've ever walked away from a 3 hour show saying like, oh, I want more.
I agree with that, because let me ask both of you this then. When has it that you can definitely say for certain that I've watched Raw for about 3 hours and I think that that's a good show? I think that's a wonderful show. Since when have you came to that kind of conclusion?
I mean, look, there are plenty of times where I'd be like, oh, I'd give that episode of Raw, a B+. That was a good show. But there's always stuff you can find there. It's like, well, those 4 segments didn't need to be on the show. Like, or actually, you know what? I don't watch Raw straight through. Like, I don't just watch Raw and do nothing else. Like, I'm always doing other stuff. If I had to actually sit down and just watch Raw for those 3 hours and do nothing else, I think it would drive me crazy. Because it's not interesting enough. Like, if you tell me I have to watch the B Team versus Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy for like a 10-minute match, I'm just gonna be like, I'll put that in the background while I'm doing other things. You know what I mean? So I don't watch. You know, if you're telling me like, was there 3-hour Raw? There hasn't been one where I've just been glued to the TV like most of the time. Like, oh yes, what's coming next? I usually just like, okay, the big segments they're promoting tonight are the Kevin Owens this, the Roman Reigns that, the Paul Heyman this, and so like I have the things I'm looking forward to for sure, you know. But yeah, I've never been like every segment of this show was amazing, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think I have watched a live Raw in I can't even tell you how long. I PVR it, and I go through it, I go through the filler, and just by eliminating, and even if I do watch every segment, just by eliminating the recap parts,
yes,
your commercials, all your ads, you've dropped it down to about a 2-hour show.
Yeah,
like, you know, and it's a lot more palpable when you're doing that than
right.
And you know, there's certain segments when, you know, I'll see whoever comes on and is like, I so don't need to watch this.
Right.
And, and as you're zooming through, if something cool happens, you stop and you watch.
Right.
So I honestly I couldn't even tell you the last time that I've ever actually sat down and watched a Raw.
I mean, back in my low point, like I've never quit WWE really since I've been watching, but my low point was probably after the Nexus storyline was botched. That whole somewhere in that late 2010 into middle of 2011, Punk's pipe bomb kind of woke me up again. But so there was a good 6 months there where like the Miz was champion, and it was just like, oh, what the hell's going on here? So in that time, that's what I did. You know, I would just record Raw and go through it in 20 minutes the next day. And it was great, you know, like because since the show, and it was just a 2-hour show probably at the time, but there was so much on the show that was like, I don't care about any of this. So yeah, if it's at the point where you're watching the show and there's just more content that you don't care about than you do care about, then it's probably in your best interest to record that and just go through it quick the next day or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree because I agree on both fronts because here's the thing. I had never had a moment where I say, "Oh, that." Though I was thoroughly entertained by one episode of Raw from start to finish. There's little that I can nitpick that I can actually say that that's bad or that's just okay in a way, because there in any kind of show that I watched already, either on Raw or SmackDown, there's bound to be something that I say, nah, this especially on Raw, this shouldn't be here, that shouldn't be here. That's just a poor kind of segment that's just shuffled in just to make up the numbers and make up the hours or minutes in a way. If I can remember that far, I can't remember one time where I say, oh, that's actually a good show. I enjoyed it from start to finish for 3 hours. I never found that. So.
Well, then we're talking about being jaded and all that. Well, I wonder, the 7-year-old child, how do they consume a 3-hour Raw? Are they excited the whole way through, or how is it for a child? I don't know. I
mean, do they actually? Yeah, actually, do they? Actually,
a 7-year-old's probably not staying up till 11 p.m.
In a way, do they actually sit down and just go, okay, I'm going to watch Raw for 3 hours with my dad or with my parents and whatnot, and see what happens?
And that's a big reason why
they're not going to sit still. Yeah. They're not going to sit still for 3 hours. They're going to go, I'm going to go to bathroom break. Especially if these 7-year-olds have phones and they just go, oh, I'm going to have to tweet this out to my friends. Something like that.
Well, we have someone with us who can explain to us. How do you do it with a 7-year-old child?
And that's a big reason why I do the PVR thing, because he won't sit there for the whole 3 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll watch the matches, the talking segments, and stuff that he's not interested in. He'll go off and he'll usually sit in the room and watch while we're doing it, but he'll play with his action figures, and usually he's playing whatever match that he comes up with, which half the time are more.
He'll fantasize the best matches.
Right.
So yeah, he doesn't sit through the whole thing. Mostly, like when the matches are on, for sure. He wants me to fast forward anytime Elias comes on. Which
he hates Elias.
He hates Elias so much.
You know what's interesting with Elias is that because I can imagine, like, I'm trying to get in a kid's head here. It's like Elias doesn't really even wrestle all that much. Like, he comes out and he does his guitar stuff, and then he goes away, or someone beats him up or whatever it is, and it's like he really doesn't wrestle. So, like, I wonder if a kid's thinking, like, why is this guy on a wrestling show? Like, he doesn't actually wrestle. Like, what's he doing?
Exactly.
Well, but in a way, he's doing his job right, because he's got him hating him. He's got a visceral reaction to what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, we do watch the segments because I personally love Elias. So.
Right.
But then again, you can't really say for certain. You can't really say you don't supposed to hate Elias. You're supposed to love Elias, because I like Elias.
I obviously don't say that when we're watching, but
how do you handle, like, the pay-per-views or the monthly events with your son? Like a Backlash or whatever. Like, how do you do that?
Well, we're gonna have to visit that. Usually he watches them live with us. And it's like SummerSlam, he was into it right from start to finish. I mean, he had a couple little moments that he was off playing or doing whatever, but he was pretty stoked for the whole thing. But now with school back, we'll probably end up recording them and then watching them in chunks.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a little.
How can anybody like Elias? I can't stand him.
Ask his kid. He likes Elias.
I know, but I'm not going to argue with a 7-year-old.
No. My kid hates Elias. I like Elias.
He argues with his own son about Elias.
You don't argue with your son about Elias, do you?
You're going to buy him all the Elias merchandise and action figures you can find, right?
You betcha. That'd be hilarious.
Because he's gonna pout from start to finish if you don't buy the Elias merchandise.
I can guarantee you, if I did that, Elias would lose every single match that he was in.
Right.
What is that? What happens? Is that what happens, Five? When you buy the merch of the wrestler you like, they start losing?
Oh no, I don't generally buy the stuff that I like. He gets to pick what he wants. So
yeah,
that's freedom of choice. Freedom of choice.
If we're playing one of the WWE video games and I put one of my guys on, he does his level best to beat me every single time. He loads himself up on all the finishers in the world, and he's actually gotten pretty good, and it's hard to beat him now.
Oh, goodness.
That's bad. But, it goes to show just how much technology, how far behind we as adults are compared to the kids today.
Well, it depends on your generation. I'm still okay with
look at like I was saying before the show started, and Five could relate to this. You were one of the cool kids on the block if you had Pong. Well,
Pong was a little before my time. It was Atari was the big one for me. So,
but yeah, that's who made Pong, was Atari.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember when Atari and Pong cost as much as a damn Xbox One did.
Yeah,
it was $200, almost $300, and people were like, "No, it never was." I said, "Yeah, it was."
My brother had Atari, and by the time I was 5 or whatever, Nintendo was the thing. But he has Atari, and it worked. So I love those Atari games. I would play his old Atari games. And just a few years ago, I tried showing a young cousin of mine like some Atari games, and she was just like, "What the hell is this crap?" Because she's used to playing like the mobile apps and all that stuff, and she's like 10 at the time or whatever. I'm just like, "Come on, man! It's Moon Patrol. Come on, you do this and that and the other thing." And she's just like, "This is
Space Invaders."
Yeah. So
Space Invaders, Centipede.
My one cousin,
Shoplifter.
when she was 2.5 years old, she was a pro at an iPad. I'm like, you can't even speak. How do you know what you're doing with an iPad? Like these kids are amazing with technology.
They are. They certainly are. Especially when you expose to them about it at an early age, they're gonna just do stuff about it that you can't even imagine.
Your niece thought you were FaceTiming somebody in that picture.
I mean, I was actually watching a clip on wrestling, and that was she puts her head on my head and tries to kind of take a peek on it. So there's that. I mean,
you're already exposing her to wrestling. She's what, 6 months old, and you're exposing her to wrestling.
She's almost 1 year old. She's almost one. She's gonna be turning one next month. And
you're exposing her to wrestling already. That's good on you.
I told you. I told you in the thread. I'm gonna turn her into an NJPW fan. I'm gonna turn her into an NJPW fan one day.
She's gonna love Ghetto and all of them, right?
I'm pretty sure that she's gonna hate Ghetto. I'm pretty sure she's gonna love Tanahashi, and not Takahashi.
She's not Takahashi. Hiromu. She's not gonna like Hiromu.
She's not gonna like Hiromu. She's gonna love Tanahashi because of the hair.
Oh.
Yeah, no one can deny the luscious, long, golden locks of Tanahashi. Not even Takahashi can compete with that kind of lock of hair.
Well, I'd like to see Tanahashi compete with Rush's hair.
Number one. Number two, no one can elicit an audience reaction to literal crying when Tanahashi enters the ring. So,
I think nobody can elicit a reaction to people throwing $7 beers on a wrestler either, like they do in Mexico City when Rush comes out.
Yeah.
And Kane, you've seen that, and I have too. It's funny as hell to watch people. They buy a brand new beer just to throw at Rush.
Yeah,
he loves it. I mean, that's a guy that could generate so much heat.
Mm-hmm.
But
these
are the things that keep me interested in wrestling now. Is watching how certain characters get themselves over one way or the other.
I think for us nowadays, it's more that we care more about the nuances that happen in wrestling rather than just
what nuance. WWE doesn't understand.
It's
nuance.
Amazing. Just a simple prop. A wrestler just has a prop of some kind, and that can be like just stick in someone's memory. I mean, I was on vacation a few weeks ago, and I'm out on the boardwalk, and I was wearing Razor Ramon socks, okay? Mm-hmm. And because, of course, I would do that. So someone stops me, and this lady stops me, and she's looking at my socks, and she's like, like, who is that? She's like, is that the guy from Highlander? And I'm like, no.
Highlander?
Right. And she was like, oh, I know who that is. And I was like, it's a professional wrestler, Razor Ramon. And she's like, oh, he's the guy with the toothpick, right? Like, he wasn't pictured on the toothpick wasn't on the sock. She's like, oh, he's the guy with the toothpick, right? I remember him. And like, that was our entire conversation. So and then she went her way. So like, his damn toothpick stuck in her mind.
That is
one of the greatest angles ever run in WWF when Razor Ramon was there was he flipped the toothpick at Jerry the King Lawler. And Jerry the King Lawler had to have a toothpick in his hand, in between his fingers, and he stuck it up to his face, and it looked like it was sticking out of his eye. It was one of the greatest things. That was one of the greatest things. And it's a simple toothpick.
Yeah.
Razor Ramon got a toothpick over. Scott Hall got the toothpick.
Yeah.
It's like, hey yo, and that's another one. Hey yo.
I mean, it's
little thing.
but that's where I come back to the point again. It's the simplest things that get a kid so excited. The toothpick throwing to the camera thing, the just simple catchphrases that a young kid can actually latch onto and just go, hey yo, and something like that. It's gonna be that kind of things that attract younger audiences, and then
what does WWE stand for?
It's amazing how popular or how much of a reaction Elias gets. I mean, it's pretty astounding. I'm surprised they haven't done more with him. I think what they do with him is fine for the most part. I'm not necessarily complaining. It's just like he gets such loud reactions.
Yeah.
He gets the crowd.
Going back to that.
Go ahead.
Going back to that again, it's just an object over or whatever. Mr. Perfect with his gum throw. Growing up, I don't think I ever spit out a piece of gum without
swatting it.
Without swatting it away. Without trying to swat it away.
Well, yeah, that's probably a better way to say that.
Without trying to swat it away, and then suddenly, I can't really do this. No, this is a fail for me. No. The gum will either stick on your hand or just fall into the floor, and then you go.
And it's like the Baron von Raschke when he was introduced. He'd always take that one big step with his hand. He'd grab his wrist and he'd put his hand in like a claw shape.
Right.
Little things you see. These are the things that are missing from a lot of the characters today. None of them have any nuance. Really.
Is it more because that they don't really need the nuances now that there's far easier way to show that they have nuance?
The problem is this, and Kane, you'll probably agree with me, as will Five here. The biggest issue I find with it is this. The promos today are over-scripted.
It's probably the biggest issue of why it's probably. If I had to lay it out why I think the show sometimes is such a drag, I think that's the number one reason is like these wrestlers, we see some of their interviews like on YouTube and these kinds of things, and they're better, they're more effective at getting their personalities out there.
On their shoots. Right.
And then like if you look at a Talking Smack or something where it's less scripted, and then but you look at on Raw and everything, and it's just like, man, what he's saying here is completely wooden, unnatural, and doesn't sound like anything a regular person would say. And it is a huge problem.
There's suffering succotash.
I was just going to say that's the biggest one. Like when you see Roman Reigns outside of the scripted promos, he's charismatic. He's got he's got
charisma oozing from every every pore in his body. When he's away from WWE and talking and being himself.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. That's the whole problem. They are not letting the wrestlers take control of their characters and put more of themselves into it.
In a way, that can be.
That's my jadedness and cynicism coming out, but it's the truth.
It's almost like a circular problem because they do let the biggest stars, do their own stuff, and for the most part, and so then of course it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like they get more over because they have more freedom, and it just creates that bigger divide between the top and the bottom in some ways, or I should say the top and the bottom, like the old time like the part-time stars and they're not part-timers.
Though the prime example of someone who basically goes off script quite a bit is Miz. Miz is not scripted. You can tell he's not scripted. He gets bullet points and goes.
And that's why he's consistently probably one of the best promos in WWE programming right now.
Well, you know what? Even I don't have like a great convincing example here of a specific, but Braun Strowman, when he was talking to explain why he's aligned with McIntyre and Ziggler, I forget the exact phrasing, but I was just listening to it like he just memorized the script. And
you could hear it.
And so it's not as effective. Not that it was bad or anything. It wasn't like, oh man, this is
awful. I heard part of it.
It was just this robotic thing, and just like, like this is not that. It's not that interesting. Like I want to believe you. I want to get into it, and I can't because you're just reading a script.
Yeah. So, the whole, like I said, the greatest example of a failed scripted promo was Suffering Succotash. Okay? Some of the promos that Roman had with John Cena, and you could hear Cena calling him out on it. And I don't know if that was planned or not, but the promos leading up to the, all the Brock Lesnar matches and stuff like that were more... If they were scripted, they were very lightly scripted. He was given a general direction as to where to go with it, and he had to hit certain points and certain catchphrases. But Roman was sounding more and more comfortable and sounding more and more off the cuff.
Mhm.
And he was actually pitching out some solid promos.
And hopefully they're loosening the reins on him a little bit, pun intended.
Yep. It gets to that point.
Right, and I'm fully on board the sink or swim idea of just let these guys go, give these guys a mic, let them do it, and if they can't do it, then then that was on them. You know what I mean? Like I would have loved. I know that this is an argument from a few years ago, but I would have loved to have seen Cesaro get a chance. Just he bombed like the 2 times they gave him a mic, and maybe that's it. I mean, maybe it's that simple, but it's like give him a few more opportunities. If he just can't do it, then fine. Then I understand. But it's like I feel like even with someone like him, it's like they just didn't give him enough of a like. I wanted
a chance.
And if he sinks, if he does sink, then fine. Then he can't do it. But I feel like there's so many guys who are just like part of being a great pro wrestler is can you cut that promo? And I don't know that these guys can't do it. Like I haven't seen I know that the scripted stuff sucks, but I don't know that they can't do it. It's almost like WB has already decided, no, you can't do it, and they don't let them.
Right, that's the thing. They don't let them.
And maybe if you let some of these guys do it, a few of them, hopefully more than a few, but you would actually get some guys who end up shining in a major way, and now you have like 8 new stars on your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's what that we got this old 73, 75, something like that. Your old man sitting up there going, the fans don't know what they want. Only I know what they want.
Right. I mean, look, Daniel Bryan's become a good promo. He wasn't necessarily supposed to be this great promo guy. I'm not saying he's like amazing or whatever, but he's a good promo, and he doesn't come off to me like he's scripted right now.
No.
And he's a top guy, and not necessarily like he's a champion or anything, but we know he's a top guy, and he's not being micromanaged.
Here's a sad thing that I'm hearing. Here's a sad thing that there's a rumor going around, and I don't know if it's being perpetuated by WWE or what, but there's talk of getting Miz the title from AJ. And then having a championship match between, for the WWE title between Miz and Daniel Bryan, and having Daniel Bryan win the title again. And I'm like, please, no, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need it. Daniel Bryan doesn't need it. We went through this once before. Okay, it seems, and I hate to say it, sound like someone I'm pissing in everybody's toasties, but folks, deal with it. It's my show. If you don't like it, you can quit with us. If he doesn't win, the fans are going to shit all over it. Daniel Bryan, every time he seems to get a title, winds up getting hurt in some kind of way. Look, he won the WWE World Championship from, he defeated Batista and Orton for the title at WrestleMania 30. Everybody was happy. And he didn't defend the title because he was injured. He had that neck problem. So he goes away, comes back, wins the IC title. Can't defend that now because he's got the concussion problem. It's like he gets a belt, it's a curse.
I got no problem with Bryan as champ. I basically have my list of performers who I like the most, and the more spotlight they get, the happier I am. And he's one of those guys. So if he gets a bigger spotlight, I'm on board with that. I'm trying to think of who the heels are on SmackDown, because obviously AJ Styles is going to lose it. Who's he going to lose the title to? I don't think he's going to hold it until the next redraft, or whatever you want to call it. So you have Samoa Joe, you have Miz, you have Randy Orton. Is there anyone else? Are those basically one of those guys are probably going to take it from him, right?
Yeah,
in a way,
probably going to be Miz.
So pick your poison. Who would you like in that group? Unless you have another maybe there's a babyface. Maybe there's a babyface that could take it from him. But like if you had to pick, who's your guy that you want to take the title off of Styles?
I would actually like to see Samoa Joe get it.
I wonder if they're doing this whole stuff with Wendy Styles, but
that's weird.
Yeah, are they going to involve?
Weird. That is a old TNA storyline they're using.
It is, but my argument is being if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But it's getting Joe so much heat. That's the only thing, but it's cheap heat.
Well,
and that may be true, but and even though the storyline isn't necessarily the best, I give it to Joe that he's killing it in his promos. I may not like what he's saying, but he is killing it right now.
Yeah, he sounds like a psychotic stalker type.
Exactly. His
delivery is amazing. I mean, he's great.
He's always the best at delivering promos, delivering wickedly cruel promos, and kind of like straight to the point promos that you just can't help but either be in awe or just be scared, because this is.
I think this particular storyline I can't imagine why they're spending this amount of time on it unless they're actually going to get Wendy involved in the story in a major way. Because let's say Styles just goes out and beats him at Hell in a Cell or whatever. That might just it would be weird. Like if Joe spent 2 months talking about Wendy, and you being a bad father, then that's it, without Wendy getting involved more. So I'm curious, but if she does get involved more, doesn't it have to be in a way that sort of adds conflict to her marriage with AJ Styles? And I don't know where they're going with this story.
We don't need that. We don't.
Right, because that can definitely go very badly.
Yeah, because that's back in Attitude Era kind of crap. That
it depends. There's a way you can make it work, but this is going back to being jaded. I don't have faith in WWE to pull it off.
Of course.
I don't either.
I don't think any one of us does.
Because
I don't think any of us does.
Nope, we don't. And I'm sure I'm going to say this to you, Fi. I'm sure your son would agree. No, don't need to go there because it's just wrong. It's totally wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think he quite gets what's going on there. He just loves seeing AJ and Samoa Joe fight, and I'm not going to explain the finer points of what's going on right now, because he doesn't need to know that.
Right, he's too young to understand. He's too young to understand it and comprehend it.
Yeah, all he's thinking right now is Samoa Joe's a jerk, and he get into him. So, and that's fine with me. You keep thinking that. That's all you need to know.
Hey, maybe it's that simple. Maybe he's a jerk. Styles beats him, and they just move on from the story. After I don't know, but
that would be such a letdown.
I don't know. It seems weird. AJ Styles has had all these. I don't know. I mean, AJ Styles is great, but these feuds have not been so great. So, the stories they have for him. So, I do. Miz or Orton is. My guess is that Samoa Joe's not going to get the title. It's going to be Miz or Orton. Well, at some point down the line here.
But why? Okay. Well, all right. Then. But why would it have to? Why would Miz get the title for one reason?
I mean, just because they want to do the thing with him and Daniel Bryan for the title, at a bigger show. And what is that going to do? Oh yeah, everybody will have everybody that's a Daniel Bryan mark and a smart and all that, fans and everything else is going to have the feel good moment for Daniel Bryan. But the minute he loses the title to whomever, they're going to shit all over that guy. Why they want Daniel Bryan? This is what they're going to do. Bryan's going to win it. He's going to win the title at WrestleMania, move over to the same brand as Roman Reigns in the next redraft, and then everyone's going to hate Roman Reigns all over again.
Yeah. It's going to be that kind of train again, which we don't really want.
It's going to be the Roman Reigns train and it all over again. And we know what's going to happen. The fans, the Daniel Bryan fans, and it's been said before, and I'll say it again. A lot of the Daniel Bryan fans want him to have the Moolah run.
No.
And you know what that is, Kane.
With his age. He's technically with his age, and well.
When she was wrestling Wendy Richter, she was damn near 60. Moolah was.
And then you have Ric Flair, who did still wrestle, and then after his retirement.
Yeah, in TNA, and he regrets doing that because he was not the same. He knew he made a mistake coming back to wrestling in TNA. He even says so.
Oh, and we can't forget about good old Terry Funk, who retires every minute and then unretires.
Well, Terry Funk, believe it or not, Terry Funk can still go even with.
I know he wrestled just a couple months ago.
Yeah, and he still goes even with not having knees. He still goes.
Which is surprising even to me. Please quit. No, please quit. Please stop. Please stop wrestling. I mean, okay, here's my. I think I could say this is the biggest question and probably the final question. Is there any chance that people can change their perspectives in a way in regards to wrestling as a whole?
It's possible. It's a gradual process, and some people can't. But it's. I know people who hated the Bella Twins as recently as 3 years ago, and now think the Bellas are great because they're big fans of Total Divas. And so now the Bellas just came back, to Raw, and this person's like super into the Bellas now as characters, and hated the Bellas 3 years ago. I think it's certainly possible. It's just some people. Yeah,
it's packaging, Kane. It's packaging. You look at it. Brie Bella is married to Daniel. Right. Nikki Bella just went through this whole BS storyline, proposal for marriage, blah, 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 and all this other happy. Whether it's real, whether it's a shoot or a work, I don't know, nor do I care.
Right.
Now everybody, they got sympathy on Nikki because John basically was playing the asshole.
Right, yep.
So.
Is it, again, another work? Is this going to be another work?
Is this a work or is this a shoot?
Well, as far as your own fandom goes, how are there people you've changed your mind on, or how are you with changing your mind on things, or do you?
I have changed my mind on a few people, but it's a process. They have to show me something. They have to show me a legitimate reason to change.
Yeah, I'm pretty stubborn in my ways for the most part. I can probably find a couple examples, but there's a very good chance the same people I liked 5 years ago are the same ones I like now. Maybe one or two.
You like this, Kane? When I first started this show, I had nothing nice to say about Miz. That's changed.
Yeah,
you've heard it.
Right.
On more than one occasion, I have given Miz his props for something.
But with the added threat of committing harakiri or seppuku, give me the puke bucket afterwards.
Yeah, but I'm still saying, I'm doing it because when they do a good job, or it doesn't matter who it is, if they do something that is actually hard work, they show me they're working their ass off and they're doing what they're saying they're going to do. I have no problems with them.
Right.
Basically, you win. TakersMinion will go like that.
This whole thing going on with him and Daniel Bryan is great. Miz playing the dastardly heel that had to cheat to win. And now he's claiming he's got the hardest punch in the world. My ass. We all saw what we saw. And then we see just how much of a coward he is when Daniel comes out that 1 week and he hides behind Maurice. What happens? Brie comes out, punch, and winds up. Maurice dives out of the ring, and Miz winds up taking a punch to the jaw from Brie. So, I mean, that was brilliant. That's brilliant booking going on right there, right now. And I think it's just those two guys were told, here.
I see.
This all started on talking smack. Just take it and run. And you can see it. It's more freeform, which is something you don't see happening.
Sure.
I mean, we talked about the Finn Balor demon coming out at SummerSlam. Nobody promoted it. It was not promoted. There was questions about it. We talked about it on this show that Saturday morning, and I was the only one who said the demon's coming. Don't ask me how I knew. I just felt it. And sure enough, he came out. Now he needs to go talk to Muda or Kana about the red mist to add to the character next.
Okay. 5. Greg, same question. Do you think people can change their perspective in terms of wrestling, and have you ever able to?
I've done it just recently, actually, just through my son. It's not easy, but yeah, I used to I'd watch with just tear the product apart. I now watch for the enjoyment of it. As to certain characters, I'm kind of in Kane's view. Like the guys I liked 5 years ago are the guys I probably like right now. And I mean, the only things people that really change is if it's somebody I was indifferent to and they do something incredible, and then they move into the, oh, hey, I like you tier. But I generally don't. If it's somebody I am not a fan of, they're going to have to work pretty hard to make me a fan. But yeah, you know, I've had so much more enjoyment watching wrestling in the last 2 months with Gavin than I probably have since I was a teenager. So it is possible to do, but it's all a matter of how you go in, look into it. It's all a matter of
perspective.
It's a matter of perspective.
Okay.
What about you, MDS?
I mean, honestly, in all possibility, I think people can change. I think perspectives can change. Greg says it perfectly. It's hard to change people's perspectives, especially when they're deep-rooted in their own beliefs. But they can change. Just how it all depends on the matter on how you want the process of change to happen. If you want to just sit down, discuss, and probably find a compromise, then yeah, you could say that that's a change. That's a good thing. Good. You want to force on the issue? No, that definitely can't.
And Dad, right? You said it. You hit the nail right on the head. What is WWE right now most notorious for?
Forcing the issue, basically.
Exactly.
I mean,
there was a way they could have. This is going back to something that started before I left and before I came back. Was the Becky Lynch thing? There was a way they could have made her a solid heel. And now, you know, not with the whole thing. Yes, she did. She beat the hell out of Charlotte. Naomi had two matches, 2 weeks in a row against the Iconics, in which she lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second match, they should have had the Iconics start beating Naomi down, and then have Becky come running out, looking as though she's going to make the save, only to have her jump in on it. That would have solidified the turn. That's the move they should have made, in my opinion, anyway. But
she hasn't attacked anyone other than Charlotte, right?
Right, no one but Charlotte, and that, you know, Charlotte was kind of struggling as a babyface. We all see that.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting better, but the turn was done at a time that the timing was bad. They should have done it. You know, yeah, her jumping and beating her and cutting a promo on Tuesday night, great. But they should have had her attack Naomi after the Iconics match. That, in my opinion, would have locked her in because Naomi is loved by the crowd. She's a beloved face. You know, that would have made the turn to the dark side that much stronger. That's just how I would have done it.
Yeah, Becky hasn't wrestled a match, I don't think either, right? She's just cut promos and attacked Charlotte. Yeah, so like we haven't seen her, like whoever the babyface women are on SmackDown, I guess is who they're gonna pair her off, or she's just gonna squash local talent. I don't know what it's gonna be, but like at some point she's gonna have to wrestle matches on SmackDown against people other than Charlotte. And I'm not talking about like the pay-per-view, so like maybe her and Asuka will be something for a future pay-per-view. But like just on a random SmackDown, who are like the low fodder babyface women on SmackDown right now?
Naomi's one.
Is it really? Is like who else? Like is it just Naomi? Or who are the baby faces on SmackDown besides Charlotte?
Naomi, Lana's over. It's pretty much Lana. Lana's a face. And
please don't forget Asuka, please.
Right, I'm trying to think of like a regular SmackDown match, like who could Becky go over?
Yeah, you wouldn't put Asuka Becky together in a match on SmackDown. No,
no.
Maybe that's
unless if you want to go full Stone Cold Becky Lynch and just let Becky go interrupt Asuka. Yeah, that can generate a little bit of heat.
But it's right now the rosters are so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
even with such a huge roster, having it split like this and in this specific configuration does put a lot of it's very limiting in a lot of ways.
Well, it's like George said it best. One brand should have all the tag teams.
Right.
One brand should have all the women.
Having the women and the tag team split off, they're not big enough to be subject to a brand split. That's really what it is. Yeah.
And I would say, I tend to agree with George, and it's put all the tag teams on SmackDown.
Right, because even as good as the tag teams are on SmackDown, we've seen those matches so many times. It's the same match over and over again. Right. They're good matches, but we've seen them already. So I get if some people are worn out on that.
Yeah, because the whole thing is repetitive and it starts to get stale, and this is the process when it starts to get stale.
So put all the tag teams on SmackDown and put all the women on Raw. Now you think about it. You move all the women from SmackDown over to Raw. Man, there's instant rivalries there, almost instantaneous rivalries, just in the unification bout alone for the title right now with Charlotte and Ronda. So you got Charlotte and Ronda. Ronda on the tag team side, you got New Day and the Revival. That would be a hot match. Both of those matches would be great. Ronda would probably squash Charlotte because that's what Ronda does. That's Ronda. Ronda squashes people. Although they're talking about having the match go a little longer with her and Alexa Bliss, and I just don't see how they're going to do that.
Well, I think what they did for SummerSlam has been perfect for that, so stick with that.
Yeah, but they wanted to go longer.
If they want to go longer, they're going to need someone to help Alexa Bliss to prolong it. Whether it's Mickie James or Alicia Fox, someone's going to have to get involved because Alexa on her own against Ronda, right?
Alexa's not that good. Alexa's not improved at all in the ring, whereas Carmella has.
It's weird with Alexa. I remember in 2017. One of my favorite, it might have been my favorite women's match of the pay-per-view in the main roster that year was Alexa against Sasha at Great Balls of Fire, and it ended in a DQ. But I thought it was a really fun match, and I came into this year thinking, all right, Alexa's, she's not great in the ring, but she has potential to put on some good matches every now and then. And after this year, it's just like, ooh man, what's going on? Like so many, it's just not happening.
I mean, I agree.
And here's the thing too.
I think the one of the best argument would be that I think, in my opinion, it was one of the best arguments that when she shifted from being a baby face to a heel, her body of work shifted from putting on a match to putting on a promo.
Yeah, and she was more of a valet as a heel, valet manager than she was. A wrestler.
I'm not knocking down on her performances as a heel because she has. I would say that she has improved her promo skill somewhat ever since she switched to heel. It's just that it didn't actually make her wrestling work worse. It's just that it made her wrestling more stagnant. It's just that.
Yeah, and then again too, Nia Jax and Ronda. Ronda got the best match out of Nia that she's ever had.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, you're crazy." I said, "Go look at the matches. Go look at the match. Did you see this match?" Ronda was selling her. Ronda sold her ass off.
I mean, look, the first two Rousey matches, I forget if there was a Raw one in between, but basically the WrestleMania match and the Nia Jax match, I was like, holy crap! Like, obviously, Ronda's, she has little experience, but for her experience level, it was like, oh my goodness, like she's gonna pick this up super fast. Is what I was thinking. And like we have a Kurt Angle all over again here, and then the Alexa match, was really bad, and so.
But here's the thing:
we've seen they can do great things with Ronda Rousey already. We've already seen it.
Well, Kane, who trained Ronda in her grappling for MMA?
Oh, it was Alexa Bliss now.
No. Do you know who it was?
No, I don't actually.
Judo Jean LaBelle.
Oh, Jean LaBelle, okay.
Or Billy Robinson, if you want to go.
Yeah, Billy Robinson was involved too, but Billy Robinson and Jean LaBelle taught her the grappling style she has.
Okay.
So she has a concept. She has a concept of professional wrestling because what was she trained by? 2 professional wrestlers.
Right. I mean, look, Ronda Rousey is super into the pro wrestling. I mean, you can tell, like, she's really
loving
into
every.
it.
She is loving every minute. Every minute of it.
I wasn't sure what to think about the whole Rousey thing, prior, to the Royal Rumble and all that. But I'm really into what they're doing at Ronda Rousey, and I know it's always tricky making it work with people who are kind of wrestling part time and all that. But we've seen.
How dare you?
What are you talking about?
She's not part time. God damn it.
Well, I mean. Sure, she's on Raw quite often, but
she's made more appearances on Raw, more appearances in house shows, and has worked more matches on pay-per-views. She's had 4 matches in 6 months?
Probably.
She showed up at Royal Rumble. Okay, that was it.
Yes.
And then they went into rehearsals with her and Nia. We knew this, but the thing about it is that she has done more than Brock has done in the last 3 years already. She was on that road trip, that 17,700-mile road trip. That a lot of, she was performing at those house shows in Japan and in London and in Japan and in China.
I think once they get her away from Alexa Bliss,
they'll start to quite.
Right, I mean, I know they want to. I hope they don't just turn Ronda Rousey into a squash machine, because I think she can put on some really fun back and forth matches. We've already seen it, so that's what I want to see from her. I want to see longer matches. Alexa Bliss is probably not the right opponent for that. But I hope once they get her away from Alexa and they mix her up with Natalya and some others, that we do get to see. You do get to see what she can do in the ring more, than the Alexa match showed.
I mean, she's got a great career ahead of her if they work it right.
Do you think they should stick Paul Heyman with her? Or are you against that?
No, I think Ronda can cut a promo pretty decently if she's given half a chance. If they let her go on her own, let her put her own spin on things, she'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, she's had some hits and she's had some misses so far. But her hits have been good. You know what I mean? So yeah, and she hasn't done this before. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's room for her to grow there.
I mean, she was cutting decent promos when she was in UFC.
Right.
True.
So she's got experience in getting people to come see her perform, see her in a match.
Right.
Okay, and what did people spend their money to see? Ronda Rousey takes someone out in seconds.
Right.
So WWE has to cash in on that at times. They gotta make it where these matches are 5 minutes or less, because the crowd will start to lose interest.
Right.
Will start to lose interest.
Well, sure. If she's wrestling on Raw, her Raw matches should be squashes. I mean, it's because those are not the big type matches. If she's wrestling at WrestleMania against Charlotte, that should not be a squash match.
But oh well, we can go round and round about that, Kanan. that's a debate for another time.
Yeah. A discussion for another time. But I mean, I think we got the point across. I mean, it's how to say. I think. In all truth and all forms, having a fandom is more subjective than anything else, especially at this time of age. I mean, at an age where we're highly critical and super sensitive about most of the stuff that we watch and whatnot. It's always going to be a diverse. Always going to be a diverse argument about the differences in your fandom and my fandom, and it doesn't really depend on the fact that, well, you have your fandom, I have mine. We'll keep it that way. No, it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. You can just sit down, discuss, and you don't come to a compromise. Stop. We can just move on. We can just move on and say that, yeah, I think we're gonna go run around in circles. You are deeply rooted in your ideas. I'm deeply rooted in mine. At least I appreciate the fact that, well, we're sitting down having this discussion about it, rather than just, well, be angry about booking. Be angry about.
Did we not know? Did you not notice that today there weren't really any harsh words spoken amongst ourselves? I didn't have to go Stephen A on anybody.
Oh, that's just because I had my microphone muted when I was cursing you out. Sorry, I didn't.
Just muting it out.
I didn't go all Stephen A on people. You know, we had a general discussion. Nobody really raised their voice or anything. And this is what we need to be able to do as adults, because we're all adults here. Yeah, let's watch our wrestling as a children. Let our inner child come out and be a fan again.
Although I think the proper way is, how to say, you can still watch wrestling as an adult. You can still comment about it. You can still have your grouses and nitpicks about it, but just don't be too absorbed into it too much, because at the end of the day,
don't let it consume you.
Yeah.
Don't let your fandom consume you to the point where you're
being a dick. Just treat everyone with respect. Treat everyone with respect. It's all good.
Uh-huh.
If you want to be a fan of Jinder Mahal, then you be a fan of Jinder Mahal, and you sing him to the sing his praises.
I'm going to point at Taker, and I'm going to point at myself as well. I think because
we both sat there and watched the Daily burn to the ground.
Right.
When Jinder Mahal won the title.
And we're saying that, yeah, we're fans of Jinder Mahal. Let's do this. And I was a high proponent of give this time. This is going to be awesome. And we were both proven wrong. And we had to say, yeah, you guys are correct.
Well, it kind of got old quick.
Yeah, it got old pretty quick.
The thing about it was that I said he was going to win in the Daily. And I said
he was going to win. I'm looking forward to it.
I was basically crucified in that room. You're out of your mind. Yeah. Everybody came after me. Kane, you were in there that day I said that.
Yeah. And Jinder Mahal had the title for what, 3 or 4 months? Or longer?
Like at the end, I was even saying it's time for him to end.
Right.
I even said it was fun for a while. It's time for it to come to an end. It needs to end. It's over. I'm over it.
Yeah, it was weird. I knew when Nakamura didn't get the title from him, that I was like, ooh, this is not good for Nakamura.
Yeah, they let the racists win yet again, but that's a whole other issue.
In a way, but I am not going to argue on that fact because I already got myself burned.
Yeah, don't ever let anyone tell you who to be a fan of or who not to be a fan of. You just, whoever clicks for you, you be a fan of that person. And if anyone's going to be a dick to you about it, then that's their issue. That's their problem.
Exactly. It's like, and I'm not saying this to be a dick or to call anybody out, but there's a particular person who says that Becky Lynch is too over as a face to be a heel. And I'm like, my prime example is how many times did Undertaker turn as he was one of the most beloved faces, and he turned heel. Why? Because he felt his character was stale. I've said this before. Becky's character as a face is stale right now.
I was happy they turned her heel. Because like you said, I wanted to see something different from her, and I'm getting that now, and I really like it. And we're only a few weeks into it, so there is potential still to have her do some really awful and terrible things to babyfaces, so that there are more reasons to boo her.
Yes, there are, and it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. The minute she sets someone up to disarm her, okay, and she doesn't apply it because the crowd is going nuts, that's a heel. That's a heel move. And the reason I say that is how many times did Undertaker, when he was the biker taker and turned heel, would climb up on the ropes like he's going to do the old school move and would stop and shake his head and tell the crowd basically, screw you, and did something else.
Does anyone know if Randy Orton has hit anyone with an RKO since he turned heel? I know he talks about it in his promos, the RKO.
I haven't seen him RKO anybody.
But I haven't seen him do it. He
RKO'd Jeff once or twice.
He did? Okay.
Well, that was very early on. But recently, since he got his ass kicked by Jeff, he hasn't done it.
All right, I didn't realize if he did it at all or not, because I thought that's where they were going with him, is that he keeps talking it up like those are 3 letters or whatever. Then
that's his initials, Randall Kevin
Keith,
right? Randall Keith Orton. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people also don't know that he's a dishonorably discharged Marine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's the little thing that matters. Okay, quick note. I think quick talking point on this one. Have you guys watched the Mae Young Classic?
I haven't yet.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I looked at one match.
Which is
Meiko Sakamura. Oh my God. Wow, she's something else.
I told you.
She needs to be in NXT now. God damn.
I personally have missed the first week. I totally forgot that it was started, but I will.
It's on the network. It's on the network. You need to, like I said, the Meiko's.
I heard that match was just unbelievable.
Just
unbelievable ain't the word for it.
I mean, I'm already.
I was sitting there watching the match at times, and my mouth was open, going like, "Holy shit!"
I mean, I'm already sold on Killer Kelly in particular because I don't know much about her body.
Killer Kelly is going to be in NXT UK.
Yeah, and my God, she's winning me over as that character. But I'm not surprised that Meiko Satomura had showing her excellence in the Mae Young Classic, especially at this level.
And she's 38, isn't she? 36 or 38. She's old for a woman wrestler.
She's a veteran.
I mean, good God, what they could do with her in NXT and on the main roster,
She is.
Think about it. Meiko Sakamura and Asuka in a match. Oh my God. You'd have two Joshi wrestlers kicking each other's head off.
I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm thinking very far ahead. It's either Io Shirai, Meiko Satomura, Asuka, and who was the other one?
Kairi Sane?
No. Yeah, sure. You can put Kairi Sane, but I think there's 5 people who's in there.
Well, somebody put in the daily a 6-woman tag with Io Sakamura and Asuka on one side, Kairi Sane, Dakota Kai, and Rhea Ripley on the other, or somebody, Dakota Kai and someone else on the other. It would be like, oh, but they won't. They're going to use the age thing as a reason not to hire Meiko, unfortunately.
Nah. Unfortunately, but it's not really that bad. It's going to be a good thing overall because if
she can keep up with the young one and Killer Kelly, and make Killer Kelly look like $1 million even in losing.
I always forget Hiroyo Matsumoto is in there too, but well, she's not playing as well. She's not in this week's round, but we'll see most of what she's about. I'm looking for.
I saw only the one match. I had to look it up because I was seeing all the raves about it, and I'm like, I got to see this. And I was like, holy shit.
I watched all 4 of them. One of them you can actually say the female version of David versus Goliath in a sense. That would be Vanessa Craven versus Lacey Lane. That is typical David versus Goliath in a sense. But I'd say that would be the low spot. Not because that it's terrible and whatnot. It's just low in a way. It's average. The rest of them definitely catch it, especially the main event, of course, Meiko Satomura versus Killer Kelly. But please don't miss out on Zatara versus Tegan Knox, MJ Jenkins and Rhea Ripley. That's another one. That's another one that has a good mark on it. Both of these matches are good. So this week has been a good start, a very good start. So I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, considering all of you haven't really watched it. Don't know whether Kane has watched it or not.
No, I haven't watched it, actually, not yet either.
Sure. Then
and if you notice, they're already promoting the Mixed Match Challenge again.
Yeah, season 2 of Mixed Match Challenge. I
think they're setting up Braun Strowman against Kevin Owens again in that right away in round 1. Isn't that the first match?
I know that they're not going to brackets this time.
Okay.
They're going round robin this time. That's the format they're using this time. So
I just love the fact that Carmella and R-Truth are one of the teams.
I have a feeling that's going to be one of the teams. It's Carmella and R-Truth.
Oh, it already is. They've announced that they are one of the teams. So
oh my God, that is going to be awesome. Because the thing about it is those two, each of them could cut a hell of a promo. Carmella can
And
talk, and can talk.
I can't wait for R-Truth to think that he has to pin our Carmella in there. I mean, I know it's going to be all comedy stuff, but it's going to be good stuff.
He's
You
killing
can't
it.
go on. You can't go on pairing up R-Truth and Carmelo and thinking, no, this will definitely not be a comedy pair. No. I mean, if you had AJ, if you currently right now have AJ Styles and Charlotte as on one team, that's gonna be all wrestling centric, of course. And then you have R-Truth and Carmella. Are you gonna think that that's gonna be wrestling centric? Sure.
But the question I have is this: are we going to have Team Little Big again?
Yes.
Oh, they are. They are teasing it. They are teasing it, and
wow.
say that they are doing it.
Yeah, they're back. Uso and Naomi are back. Lana and Rusev are back. They mixed up Sasha. Sasha's not with Finn Balor. Who's it? Lashley? Is that who she's with now?
I think she's with Lashley this time.
And Natalia's with Kevin Owens. And I'm missing a couple more. But yeah, there's a few different teams in there. There's a few repeat teams. Styles and Flair stand out as like that's the team. I think Miz and Asuka are back. I think that's another repeat.
Yeah,
team.
they're the win. They won it last, so they're
right.
Yeah, I got most of the list right now. So okay, here you go. Of course, Team Little Big is in. Sasha Banks is actually paired with Bobby Lashley.
Okay.
And guess who paired with Balor?
Is that Bailey?
Yep.
Oh wow. Go figure, eh?
They're actually doing this in the form of the G1 brackets. So that's going to be an interesting pick because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 pairs. So there's that. Jinder Mahal is pairing up against Alicia Fox.
Oh, okay, I forgot that one.
Jinder and Alicia. Oh boy,
yeah.
that's a team that's going to get killed.
Oh, okay. Gonna laugh now. Who do you think paired up against Natalia? With Natalia, not against.
Kevin Owens.
Yep. That's another pairing made in relative heaven, I guess.
Just as long as Ryan Ward is booking it, we're going to be fine.
Cool. Of course.
Did anybody notice? Go ahead, finish it up, and then I got something to say about Raw.
Okay. Team Awesome Miz is coming back again. So.
Okay.
Asuka, actually. Asuka.
Okay.
Miz and Asuka is pairing up, so there's that. And then the rest are, your typical. The rest have already been called out.
Yeah, Carmella, and R-Truth,
Flair Styles, Lana Rusev, and Naomi Uso. That rounds up all your 10 people. So.
And then we've got. Did anybody? I mean, there was not any fanfare this week about it, but did anybody notice Renee was on commentary again this week?
Yes,
yeah. I like it. I mean, she's doing a great job. She's doing a good job in at her first go on commentary, and then she's going to do at the time she's jumping on a second try. I think it's more to iron out the kinks because she's actually doing the Mae Young Classic for commentary. Because she's paired up with Beth Phoenix alongside Michael Cole. This is I hate to harp it up again, but this is among the first time you have a women-centric commentary table for the Mae Young Classic. So that awesome. You have two women talking about wrestling, which is good.
Sorry guys, I gotta run. Thanks for having me on your show. It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Thanks, Kane.
I will catch you guys later. All right. Have a good day.
I'll try to catch up. I'll try to catch up with you and have you do something before the end of the year.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
I mean, other than that, I think considering the fact that this is actually a shorter amount of time, but I think we can call it. If you guys have any other things to talk about in WWE centric wise.
No, I don't.
No, I think I'm good.
All we could say is that, you said it best, our fandom is our fandom. And, one thing we all have to learn, that's something that's not taught much anymore, is to respect one another. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I may not like what you say, and I'll tell you I don't like it, and I'm not saying it to be disrespectful, and I make it, you know, I try to be, you know, polite, nice about it. But, you know, don't come at me like I'm some kind of jagoff if you don't like what I have. You know, if you don't like what I have to say, or if you don't like who I like. You're entitled to like who you like. But don't try to force me to like who you like.
I mean, the best point of that is just, well, it's simple. I may disagree with your point, but I will fight to the death with you for the right for you to say it. Voltaire. So.
That's a lot of times I'll say. And now I think we come to a point where we agree to disagree. Because I'm done arguing with you at that point. Because it becomes a circular argument.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the best way to do it.
And you
get your point across, you get their point across, and it's good.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that I have pissed off so many people by doing that. They get mad at me for that. Well, why are you doing that? Is because I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue in circles with you.
Because clearly,
I'm not going to change your point of view or your opinion.
Yeah,
you're not going to change mine. Mm-hmm. So we can go on for hours and get nowhere, or
we can just leave it at that. And
leave it where it is and be respectful to each other about other things. Mm. Is that so hard?
To some it is. To some it is. You know the general thinking and the general thought process. Because to some, my way is the correct way.
Some people around the threads are more like Vince, and yet they despise him.
My way is the correct way. Yes. So if you don't follow, then no one touches.
I become what I behold.
If you don't agree with me, then no one tansu for you.
Pretty much.
I think we can wrap this up, I guess.
We can wrap it up right there because, you know, like I said, they have become what they have beheld.
Yeah. But, yeah, well. Oh, and before I wrap up, interesting note. Kurt Hawkins' current record: 0 wins, 152 losses.
Okay. And a quick housekeeping note. Rest in peace, Bandit. Burt Reynolds passed away, I believe it was Thursday.
Yes,
I didn't know
that. That one hurt. I grew up with Burt Reynolds movies. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, Stroker Ace, like all of them. I've seen them all a million times. Like, every video store growing up came home with a WWE tape and a Burt Reynolds movie. So yeah, that one hurt a little bit.
Yep.
It did. I didn't know. That's the. I think I didn't know, but I think it's more because I was more absorbed in trying to deal with earthquakes and whatnot over on this end of the road. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad everything. That you're safe in that. That was scary to hear.
Yeah.
Did you feel any of it or no?
No. Some people say that they felt tremors, but in all generalities, no. Didn't really feel it because it was. I think I already told you, Taker. It's at Hokkaido. It's at the island. It's
quite a ways.
Northern Island. Quite a ways.
That's why I said north of you. That's why I asked you north of you, right?
Yeah, north of me, very far.
Yeah, I knew that, but I wanted to be sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it would. I think I think it's 20 hours away by car, if I remember correctly. So definitely you need to take a plane to go to Hokkaido. So for that.
Yeah, it's the northernmost island, if memory serves me correct.
But yeah, to those of you who asked, I'm safe. Don't worry.
I've been through earthquakes of large size. I've been through the 6.7 in Northridge, California, back in 1991 91, I think it was. I can't remember now exactly. No, 94. 94. When that what basically my bed beat the hell out of me because it was bouncing. I lived on the west side in California then, and that's all fill over there. So we had what was called liquefaction, and the ground was actually rippling in waves. And my bed was, jostling about 30 degrees up and down. So yeah, not fun to have a bed beat the shit out of you. You're trying to get out of it.
Oh, that's. I mean, I've been through a couple, but not as
They're
terrible.
Not fun. They're not fun.
They're not fun.
I don't care.
They're not fun. The feeling of the ground beneath you suddenly becoming very, very unstable is not a pleasant thing to feel.
And the feeling of helplessness you have while it's going on, that's even worse.
All natural disasters are like that because you're helpless to do anything other than try and survive, get a safe place to go. It's all about it.
Yep.
I mean, that's among some of the reasons why most of my gaijin friends, or most of the foreigner friends that I got, that I know, who lived in Japan, suddenly went to move outside of Japan or went back to their country because they're not just because of the current, not just because of the previous political situation, but natural disasters. We're seeing a lot more happening lately, so it's a little bit unsafe. To those of us who have lived here for a while, it's not because we are resigned to the fact of it. It's just that, this is a daily occurrence in life. Some of the older generations are resigned to the fact that, we have Earth. But that's just about it. Yeah. In any case, we're gonna finish this up. I think it's a perfect spot to wrap it up. So we got plugs, Taker. Where can they? But we got plugs. Although before we do plugs, we will let Greg do his plugs. So where can they find you, Greg?
Well, I've actually got a little announcement to make about that. The long-rumored upcoming podcast featuring myself and Biff Kensington is going to be launching this week.
Yay! I hear you have a title. I hear you have a title now for it. Right?
We do have a title. It's called Grounds for Development. It's a pod focusing mostly on 205 Live and NXT.
I wonder who gave you those ideas.
Actually, I think it was a fairly mutual idea.
For the name.
From the name? Oh, well, I if that came from you, well, thank you very much, because everything I was coming up with sounded cheesy as hell.
It was.
We thank you very much for that. But so that will be we'll be recording that Wednesdays and dropping it Thursday morning. So please give it a listen when it comes out.
Awesome.
We shall.
So we have.
Otherwise, you can find me on the threads on Cageside. I hang out in the daily, usually Monday to Friday, not so much on the weekends. You can find me under the name TheSaskatchewanSpinngNerveHold. I'm also on Twitter at GW Klein, KLEIN 75. So you can hit me up there as well.
Okay, so Taker, where can they find you?
They can find me at TakersMinion on the Twitter machine. Like I said, I've taken a hiatus from the daily and the nightly. I don't know when I'll be back, but I will return. As in the famous words of General Douglas MacArthur, I shall return. Just not sure when yet. And MDS, where can they find you, good sir?
They can find me on Twitter at Mr. Dr. Senju. That's MRDR Senju. And you can also find me on the official Shootin the Breach channel, that Twitter feed. That's SHOOTINDABREEZ1. Please, a friendly reminder that we are actually opening our mailboxes. So send any questions that you have to us for the upcoming month, and we
about us, about our fandom, which we talked about today, about
anything really.
Look at the show that two guys did this week and how well it went. They did like a mailbag show, and then took questions from the chat room. So we will probably try to do the same thing. So, but that's going to be the first Saturday in October, guys.
Yep.
So get them in.
Yeah, get them in. You can personally send us a DM on Twitter, or you can send an email at us as well. We're going to open an email for that. But in any case, you can also catch me on the daily as well as the nightly on on Cageside Seats. Well, that's pretty much it. Other plugs that I need to do. I have to plug in a lot of the Los Ingobernables Day podcasts that are affiliated under us under the banner of the LIJ. LIJ. I'm going to get sued by NJPW just by saying that LIP. So
Yes.
there's Two Guys One Sport with Chris Colgan and George Atzaves on Thursdays. They had like Taker said, they had an awesome Thursday. Answering all your ridiculous questions, so listen to that. Then you had Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling with William Fitzpatrick. You got Violent Wrestling Podcast with Ambrose Alley and Prince Maxi Lopez on Wednesdays. You have Ambrose Alley's Ramblings with Ambrose Alley herself on Tuesdays. You have Match Fixing with Don Salcusmano. Catch that on City Bridge Media. You have Connoisseurs of Wrestling featuring TakersMinion with Kensington, George Atzaves, and Legends Lover as well. So there are a couple other podcasts that we need to post that are outside of the banner, but are affiliated with, but are under MLW Radio Podcast. We got Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard, and What Happened When with Conrad Thompson and Shoni Schiavone. Other stuff that we promote, we have Big Rig Travels with Big Rig Steve. This is a podcast, a live stream, all about Big Rig Steve driving big rigs. While he's doing that, he's literally driving a big rig, traveling around and just doing and just talking
Doing
about
truck
stuff.
driver stuff. He don't talk. He just does truck driver stuff.
Yeah, he just does truck driver stuff. So there's that. And then of course, this is a disappointment for TakersMinion himself because he's going to be unable to do this. There's a channel on Twitch TV called Mbovo Sumo. That's MBOVO Sumo. Where you can watch, you can actually live stream and watch sumo wrestling that is available. We
Starting tonight.
Yep, starting tonight. This
tonight.
is why he is upset a little bit because this happens.
My stupid boss banned computers in the office. Damn it.
Yeah, so you can't really watch. But can you actually rewatch the whole thing? I think you can, right?
I can. When I get home, I can rewatch it.
Yeah, so you won't miss anything a lot. But in that case, well, this has actually been Shootin' the Breeze, episode 60.
Nope, 59.
50? Is it 59?
It's only 59.
I do believe it's 60.
Nope.
It's
59.
Okay, it's 59. I jumped the gun on this one.
We're not 60 yet. We'll be 60 next week.
We're not 60 yet. I sorry. This is what happens when MDS is slowly running out on his coffee. So I lose everything. Thank you again for Greg for coming over.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Thanks, and thank you so much for being for getting me inspired on writing that piece because it's just awesome. It really
it was. It was a great piece, MDS. I loved it.
Oh, thanks.
It is excellent.
I got it. You got wrecked by me. That's for sure.
I got wrecked by a lot of people, which is surprising, really. Which is.
I'm surprised you didn't make the front page, but
actually, he did.
Oh, you did. If it did make it, I'll be damned. Good for you.
I was surprised I got those number of those numbers of wrecks and a couple of comments, which some are positive, some are critical, but I take it as constructive criticism, so I like it.
There's always going to be critics.
There's always going to be critics, but I handle them constructively rather than destructively because that's not the.
I just let them say, that's their opinion.
That's you. I have to understand the whole thing. But in any case, this has been episode 59. Thank you for correcting me. Again, please be nice to one another. Be nice to one another. Make sure to smile, all right? Don't work yourself into a shoot. And for TakersMinion and TheSaskatchewanSpinngNerveHold, I'm Mr. Dr. Senju. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Jikayo ne.
Yep. And as you say in your lovely article, something I'm going to start throwing as a tagline.
Mm-hmm.
We don't quit playing because we grow old. We grow old because we quit playing.
Okay.
That's episode 59. Thanks, everybody.